For years, Naruto was the scapegoat for everything that went wrong in the village. The Kyuubi attack, the Uchiha Massacre, every tragedy somehow became his fault. But after the villagers finally push him too far, something primal awakens inside him. The sweet, lonely boy disappears, replaced by a monster with the power to steal Kekkei Genkai and make their bloodlines his own. They spent years treating Naruto like a curse. Now they're about to learn what happens when the curse fights back. Chapter 1. A small boy with dirty blonde hair and bright blue eyes with 3 whiskers on each cheek, covered in nothing but rags, sat in a corner shivering as the winter snow fell upon him. His slow, tiny breaths forming condensation in the air as it filled up his lungs. There's that child again. Sitting there like he owns the place. I don't know why Akimichi-sama lets him sit here. He even digs through the trash. Like trash. The talk. That stupid talk. Over and over he'd hear those voices speak like that. Always filled with hatred. Directed at him. He hasn't done anything. Why should he suffer for nothing he knows about? Hehehe. What do we have here? A voice that sounded like a cat dying spoke, making the tiny boy look up and see a small crowd gathering, no more than 4 or 5. It looks like God has shined on us today and we get to exact our much-deserved revenge. Another voice said. A man grabbed his shoulder, looking at warningly. We can't kill or hurt the boy, he whispered. What are we gonna do? Make fun of him? Look at him, he's suffering enough. The man shrugged off the other man's hand off his shoulder and glared. Don't feel pity for the monster, and did I say anything about hurting him? No, I got a better idea. He turned to another person and grinned. Go get a large bucket of water. He then grabbed a hold of the blonde, who began kicking and screaming, trying to get out of his grips as he tore off his rags, leaving him in nothing but a pair of stained underwear. The man came back struggling to hold a large bucket of cold water as he tumbled forward. The leader of the group grinned as he took a hold of the water bucket and spilled it on the blonde boy, making him shriek in fear and the more intense chill as the water began freezing around his skin. Come on, we gotta go. One of the cruel men shouted as they ran off, laughing to themselves as they disappeared from sight. The boy was left there shivering as he cried silently, knowing any noise would cause further abuse. The water on his bare skin froze quickly due to the low temperatures of the winter night, and it was only getting colder. It was always like this, but this time it was worst. They had poured water on him knowing it would freeze. Then a lone Akimichi, a rather plump one with a regular Chunin outfit on, approached the boy, disgust in his eyes. What a pathetic sight you are. After all you've done, you deserve this and more. He spit on the boy and began walking away, only to feel a tugging at his pants, and he whirled around to see a look filled with pleading in the boy's eyes, just begging him to help him. Let go, the fat man demanded, a pinch of fear and panic in his eyes. The boy didn't let go. If anything, his grip on the shinobi's pants only got stronger, tears flowing down his eyes. Please, the child whispered. Help me. The man's eyes widened before anger clouded everything else in his mind as he forcefully took back his leg. I said let go, he basically shouted before kicking the boy in the face, making him fall back into the snow as he felt the chill of said snow travel across his back. Piece of trash. Touching me? The Akimichi started kicking the boy over and over again until the boy was nothing but a heap on the ground, bruises now forming on his body as blood stained the ground. If you ever touch me again, I'll kill you. You hear me? I'll kill you, he shouted before storming off, leaving the boy to die. The teasing, the talking behind his back, the glares, he could deal with that, the occasional punch? Sure. But soaking him in with water while a snowstorm was currently going on and the temperature was below 0, and then when he asks for help a man beats him up? No, he wouldn't accept this anymore. The clear, shining blue light that was once Naruto Uzumaki's eyes were gone, as he suddenly felt something inside him shatter, like the ice of his skin when he stood up, his mind cracking as a grin grew on his face, the first time in a long while. But along with this ice breaking off his skin and his fragile mind made of glass cracking, he felt a sudden power increase, as if he had gotten physically stronger. He looked at his arms and saw steam rising up from them, the water and ice slowly evaporating away before he looked up and saw a clothes shop that was just about to close. He calmly walked forward, opening the shop door as the bell rang, alerting the owner a new customer has arrived. You're in luck, we were just about to close. A man spoke up as his back was turned. The boy, stocking the shelves behind the counter with cigars and cigarettes alike. Go ahead and get what you want. Naruto glanced at the man before he walked into the back and put on some clothes he personally liked before walking to the counter. I don't have any money on me at the moment, but do you think it'd be possible to take this out on a loan? I'll pay you an extra 1,000 yen when I get my money. I should have it by next week. The man, without turning around, replied. An extra 1,000 yen? Sure, but I'll need you to fill out some forms so I can find you if you don't pay. The man then turned around and saw Naruto standing there with clothes just a bit big to fit the malnourished child. But then he immediately recognized him. You, he said, almost shouting in a mix of terror and anger. How dare you walk into my store? Naruto rose an eyebrow, but he knew that the man hated him. Everybody except the Hokage, who was too busy to help Naruto, hated him. And wear those clothes. Get out and take those off now. I'm going to take that as a no, Naruto said calmly. I'll be going then. Thanks for the clothes. Me allowing you to hate me is your payment. The man's face twisted into one of rage, his face now looking like a tomato. You little bastard, he shouted as he leaped over the counter and grabbing Naruto by him newly acquired long-sleeved shirt's collar. If you don't take those clothes off right now, I'll dash. Naruto punched him in the gut. Hard. Hard enough to send the man flying across his own shop and into a wall of accessories. Keep your filthy hands off of me unless you want to die. He whispered just loud enough to reach the ears of the shop owner, who was in an obvious daze. Naruto, who was wearing a dark blue long-sleeve shirt with a pair of black pants on with various different pockets running along the length of the pants' legs, and a pair of black steel-toed boots. He has the strength, of an Akimichi, the man muttered out in pain before he passed out. But Naruto was long gone by then, unable to hear. The next day, Naruto was strolling through the village, the 6-year-old munching on a piece of pocky that he had stolen from a vendor that refused to serve him. He heard the people speaking of him again, talking about the night prior. I heard he robbed him. Broke one of the man's ribs with one punch. A monster like him stealing clothes that he shouldn't be wearing. How disgraceful. He ignored it like usual, but each time he heard a single voice he would grow angrier by the second. Hokage-sama should have executed him a long time ago. Gramps? Execute him? That was the last straw for the blonde as he reeled around, his blue eyes long gone, replaced with those of the Kyuubi. Shut the hell up before I tear out your tongues, he shouted venomously, sending out killing intent to make every civilian freeze. Listen here and listen good. I may be young, but I will not allow you to speak like that about me ever again. And if one of you tries to attack me again, I'll kill you. Then, the same Akimichi that had beaten him stepped up, glaring at him. What the hell do you think you are? A hotshot? Let's not forget you were crying like a little baby last night, practically naked and freezing. And now this arrogance of yours shows up? You've either lost your mind or you're suicidal. Naruto smirked, unnerving the Akimichi as he walked forward until he was at least 1 foot from the man, looking up, an evil glint in his eyes. You hurt me yesterday, and all I did was ask for help. Allow me to return the favor. And in an instant, Naruto slammed his fist into the fat man's stomach, causing spit to fly out of his mouth, and he fell back a couple of feet, not being propelled forward like the last man to be punched by Naruto due to his weight. What the hell? He muttered to himself, standing back up as the civilians watched in awe as the 6-year-old glared at the member of the Akimichi clan. He glared at Naruto, who didn't waver in the slightest. You're gonna pay for that. He charged forward, his arm increasing in size, which meant doubling in muscle and strength as he went to punch Naruto, only for his arm to be intercepted by an equally big arm, which belonged to Naruto as the boy felt his body heat up, a tingling sensation spreading across his body. What was this? Why did his arm grow? Why did he feel like he was taking the man's power, or copying them? You're an Akimichi? Naruto sneered before his left arm grew big as well. I'm an Uzumaki, you prick. He then punched the man again, and this time it sent him flying across the road and into a building, causing dust to erupt from the ground, giving Naruto ample time to escape and collect his thoughts, especially on what just happened. How on God's green earth was he able to do what only Akimichi could do? Chapter 2, Strangers. Sir, here he is, an Umbu said as he held 6-year-old Naruto by the collar while the boy glared daggers at the Umbu, who had dragged him from his home. Ah, thank you. Hiruzen Sarutobi, the 3rd Hokage and the longest reigning Hokage in history. He had the traditional Hokage robes on with the red hat with the fire insignia on it. He was old and wrinkled, but his eyes were bright that held years upon years of knowledge. He turned his watchful eye to Naruto as the Umbu left. "Hey old man," Naruto greeted as he walked forward, plopping down in the chair in front of the Hokage's desk. "What do you want?" Hiruzen kept a straight face as he looked at the child in front of him, noticing that the previous sparkle that once showed in his sky-blue eyes were now gone, replaced with a dullness that only should be seen in the deep sea. "I want you to answer a question for me." Naruto nodded, meeting the Hokage's brown eyes unfearfully. "Why did you steal from multiple shops earlier today and injure some of the shop owners when they tried to stop you?" Naruto shrugged. "They deserved it and I have the power to do so." Hiruzen narrowed his eyebrows at the statement. "And how on earth did they deserve it, Naruto?" he asked, a bit of steel in his voice that Naruto has never heard before. "They're mean to me, all of the villagers, ninjas, and civilians alike. I'm tired of letting them talk to me like that, refusing to serve me even if I offered to pay extra. They're all trash, every single last one of them," he said venomously, glaring at the village that could be seen from the transparent windows that were behind the Hokage desk where Sarutobi sat. "Naruto," he shouted, startling the blonde. "You cannot call the villagers trash. They are what makes this village, and when you say something like that you are basically committing treason." Naruto was shocked to hear those words come out of Sarutobi's mouth. He was the only person he was ever really close to, and now to see him taking their side without even addressing his complaints. It was just wrong. "Old man," he whispered, shock and betrayal evident in his voice. He got out of the chair and took a few steps back. "If I find out that you assault another villager, Naruto Uzumaki, mark my words, you will be punished," he said, glaring at Naruto, who was basically pressed up against the door now, tears streaming down his face, his breathing quickening. "Old man," he whispered, his voice choking up, "how could you? Why, I don't." He trailed off before he glared at Hiruzen, his eyes no longer blue but a bright red. His pupils now turned to sharp lines that went straight down the middle. "I hate you." He then dashed out the door, leaving a shocked and slightly fearful Hiruzen in his office. "Has the Kyuubi loosened the seal?" he muttered to himself as he began writing a letter to Jiraiya. He needed to know what was going down. Naruto stormed through the village, anger being his very being. How could the old man betray him like this? Why would he say those things and refuse to listen to him? He shook his head, glaring at everyone and everything. It didn't matter. Why would it matter? The 6-year-old was diving into a dark place, and it wouldn't get any better from there. Flashback. "Am I being adopted?" Naruto shouted in excitement as he looked at the person who owned the orphanage, his bright blue eyes shining at the widow before him. She gave the boy a fake smile, hiding the disgust that was well hidden in her eyes. "Yes, now just go outside and you'll find them." Naruto grinned as he ran down the hallways of the orphanage, trying to get to the front door as fast as he could. He's dreamed of this moment for as long as he could remember. He could finally get a mommy and a daddy. It was the best present the boy could have on his birthday, now being exactly 5 years old. He swung the door open and saw nothing but the orange and yellow fall leaves that had fallen off the trees that surrounded the orphanage. He looked around in a confused tone before he was pushed down the stairs, which was really only 3 stairs, but it was enough for Naruto to crash onto the ground and scraping his knee, a little bit of blood coming out. The little boy cried as his shaky hands touched his skinned knees, shaking from the shock of the sudden pain. The matriarch of the orphanage looked at Naruto without an ounce of pity in her eyes, not caring about the crying child. "And don't come back," she shouted as she slammed the door, causing Naruto to flinch. She lied. Flashback end. Naruto sat on one of the many training grounds Konoha had to offer, brooding as he had for the last few weeks, minding his own business. He was still angry, no, furious at the old man for talking to him like that. Every day in the village was a reminder that they didn't want him, that he was lower than trash. But he would prove them wrong, he'd prove them all wrong, and he didn't care what it took, as long as he could relish in the fact that they would have to admit that he was right and they were wrong. Then, 2 genin around the age of 12 or 13 showed up to the training grounds, and when they saw the child that their parents told them to stay away from, well, they got arrogant and rather rude. "Hey! Get the fuck off our training grounds, brat. I'm not trying to whoop a 5-year-old's ass." Naruto opened a single eye and saw that one of them was a Hyuga, it being obvious by the attire he wore, and the other was an Uchiha, seeing the clan crest on the front of his black shirt. "I'm 6, Naruto said as he stood up, stretching a bit. "And I was here first. There are plenty of training grounds across the village. Just go there and train," he said simply. The two genin glared at him. If looks could kill, Naruto would be nothing but ash at that moment. "When I tell you to do something," the Hyuga bellowed, towering over the boy as he glared, his Byakugan activating, the veins around his white eyes bulging. "You do it." Naruto felt his body get warm and that same tingling sensation going around him as he suddenly felt his energy going towards his eyes, before he saw everything in a 360-degree angle, even behind him. The Hyuga backed up, surprised as he saw Naruto's Byakugan eyes open, a pulse of chakra going across the training fields. "What the? How the hell do you have the Byakugan? You're not a Hyuga," he shouted, pointing an accusing finger. Naruto saw two glowing blue fires in each of the genin, with lines spreading across their entire body. "Huh. Maybe the Hyuga kicked him out because he's a bastard child," the Uchiha commented, his Sharingan now activated, and he detected no genjutsu. "From what you told me, that's entirely possible." The Hyuga shook his head, still shocked that Naruto wielded his clan's sacred eyes. "Our genetics are very dominant. He would look and seem like a Hyuga if he were one." "He is an imposter," the Uchiha grinned, taking out a kunai, his two Tomo Sharingan spinning. "You won't mind if I get first hit, right? I mean, he did just tell us to go away indirectly." The Hyuga smirked. "Go ahead, I don't mind." The Uchiha ran forward, and Naruto's eyes widened as he sloppily dodged the kunai slash. Being able to dodge it was almost extreme luck. Good thing the boy was kinda slow, his body feeling tingly and warm once again. "And no way, T2 Bloodlines," the Hyuga stammered, looking at Naruto with a mix of fear and amazement. "But how?" shouted the Uchiha, his Sharingan meeting Naruto's own Sharingan, which held two tomos each, both spinning as he held a pretty messy stance. He was untrained, so it wasn't that big of a deal, but the genin were terrified at the moment that they didn't notice. "We gotta get out of here. Mom was right, he's a monster," the Hyuga shouted before the Uchiha, and he bolted, leaving a very confused Naruto, who suddenly clutched his head as a dull pain erupted suddenly, leaving the boy dizzy. "What's happening to me?" Naruto cried out in fear. He fell to his knees and his vision got all blurry, his head spinning as the last thing he saw was the outline of a figure approaching him before everything went black. Naruto woke up to the smell of meat cooking, the said smell invading his lungs as he took deeper breaths, not having smelt something so good in so long. He slowly sat up, his whole body ached as he let out a small groan. "Be careful, you're suffering from chakra exhaustion. Copying 2 bloodlines in such a short amount of time is apparently quite taxing. Lie back down. Dinner is almost ready." A voice spoke up, causing Naruto to pause, glancing to the right as he saw a silhouette as a fire burned, a stick over the fire containing 2 rather large fish. "Who are you?" The man, or rather teen, Naruto guessed by the shape of his body. He couldn't be older than 16, maybe 17. The teen chuckled a little bit. "I'm Mr. Super Kami-sensei, but you can call me the Great Shursui Uchiha." Naruto nodded as he closed his eyes, resting his head. "Okay, Shursui-san. Thank you for dinner, I guess." After a few minutes, he sat up completely, no longer aching as much. Shursui handed Naruto a fish on a stick, who began eating eagerly, not having eaten in about 26 hours. "Naruto Uzumaki, over the past few weeks on my own discretion I've followed you, and for some reason every time you come into proximity with a person possessing a bloodline, you just so happen to copy it, but when you get close to another you basically forget the previous bloodline and adopt that one instead. It's weird, and I was hoping you would explain it to me," Shursui explained. Naruto rose an eyebrow at the Uchiha. The look in his eye held skepticism and a little confusion. "Not sure where you saw this, Shursui-san, but I can't copy bloodlines, whatever that is, and trust me, I'd explain it to you if I actually knew what you were saying." Shursui frowned but could detect no lies. "Naruto," he began, his Sharingan now active, "I want you to look at me and concentrate." Naruto did as instructed, looking at the Uchiha before he felt the same warm tingly sensation he got when he fought the Akimichi and when the Hyuga and Uchiha tried ganging up on him. In his eyes were now a pair of Sharingan. Each I have 3 tomos in it, identical to Shursui's. Shursui was dumbfounded, his rather crazy hypothesis proven right. "Now I'm certain of it. Congrats, Naruto, you have a one-of-a-kind ability, the first of its kind apparently. You have the ability to copy, one at a time at least, someone's bloodline. Naruto's eyes widened. He may not have known what a bloodline was, but it sounded important, and this teen seemed very surprised and impressed with it. So, what now? He asked the teen, who grinned. Shursui scratched his chin, the grin still plastered on his face. Now, I'm going to study that bloodline of yours, see how far it extends. In return, I'll train you to defend yourself. Naruto's eyes widened as a smile threatened to come across his cheeks. Someone didn't hate him. He was happy. He had a friend. He had no idea what was going to hit him. Chapter 3: Trueness. Shursui-sensei, Naruto called out. The 7-year-old was walking onto the training grounds. It being almost midnight, the moon was being rather generous with the amount of light that was shown on the night of Konoha. But tonight was doomed to be the most tragic thing to happen in Konoha history. Sensei, he called out again, this time shouting a little. It's been a year since Shursui took him under his wing. He fed, clothed, trained, and taught Naruto many different things over the course of the year, including a little bit of taijutsu and flexibility training so that he could avoid the villagers easier without getting in trouble with that old man that claimed to be a Hokage. He was kind of like an older brother to the blonde, or at least that's what Naruto thought, at least, having no one in his entire life besides the old man who betrayed him and Shursui, so the boy thought that it'd be best, though he kept it to himself. Shursui, he called out impatiently. Patience was not something Shursui could teach the blonde, no matter how much he truly tried. He heard a rustling in the bushes but waited calmly, his teacher often pulling stuff like this. But the man that emerged was not Shursui, it was his best friend, Itachi. Naruto had met Itachi a handful of the times, the meetings not lasting longer than 5 minutes, but the 13-year-old was pleasant enough to be around. He didn't seem to mind Naruto making Naruto like him. Itachi-san? Where's Shursui? He then noticed that Itachi had blood splattered all over his umbu gear, a piece of paper in his right hand and a crow on his shoulder, a Sharingan in its eye. Naruto. Itachi began as he got within talking distance to Naruto, whose anxiety was making his heart beat a mile a minute. I'm sorry, he said, sounding remorseful. Naruto took a step back from the Uchiha prodigy. What do you mean? He whispered. His heart sunk in dread as he saw the sadness in Itachi's eyes. Shursui is dead, and... He paused for a moment, pondering if he should tell the truth or not. No, the truth would be worse than a lie. He's told Sasuke a lie, and he will tell Naruto a lie as well. He steeled his will and made his Sharingan activate, towering over Naruto menacingly. I killed Shursui, he whispered. Naruto's eyes widened in horror at the statement. No, Shursui couldn't be. Shursui wasn't, he wasn't dead. You're lying, he shouted, pointing at Itachi as tears threatened to spill out of his eyes. Oh really? Itachi questioned, his voice emotionless, no more remorse in his tone. He handed Naruto a piece of paper, who took it with shaky hands and began reading. Dear Naruto, if you're reading this, then I'm dead. I wasn't even 18 yet, oh well. That's not what this letter is for. It's an apology. I'm sorry that I can't see you grow strong. It's every teacher's wish to watch their students surpass them, and Naruto, you can surpass me. I believe in you and I always have. You were like a little brother to me, and I can't believe how attached to you I got to you in a year, it's crazy. You better live a good long life, or I'll haunt you in heaven. Anyways, yeah. Goodbye Naruto. Shursui Uchiha. It's not true, it's not true. Naruto denied repeatedly. Shursui was strong, he couldn't have died. Itachi sighed internally before he grabbed Naruto by his throat and lifted the child in the air. Look into my eyes, Naruto, he ordered, and the blonde met the Uchiha's eyes with a glare, but Itachi's Sharingan was different. Tsukiyomi? Itachi whispered before the world around Naruto dissipated and turned to red and black, a bright red moon shining from above. If you don't believe me, then allow me to rectify that and show you the truth, Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto saw Itachi and Shursui fight, putting out jutsus that Naruto didn't even know existed. But then, he saw Itachi stab Shursui right in the heart with his sword before taking his mentor's eye. Naruto screamed as Shursui fell over into the Naraka River, his body being swept away from the current. You monster! You're a monster! You killed Shursui. He was your best friend, how could you do that to him? Naruto screamed bloody murder. Itachi cringed inwardly, but it had to be done. Naruto, I'm going to force you to relive that moment. for the next 72 hours. I hope you enjoy it. I certainly will. Naruto watched Shisui die over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. Each time the boy screamed at Itachi, sobbing at the sight of his dead sensei. It seemed like forever for the child in front of Itachi, who was trying to close his eyes, but it never stopped playing. Suddenly, the images of Itachi killing Shisui came to a stop, and Itachi looked at the Naruto before punching the boy in the stomach, causing saliva to travel down the boy's throat. You want to kill me, slaughter and torture me, but you're not strong enough, not nearly strong enough. Itachi whispered as Naruto choked a little, gasping for breath before he spoke. Why'd you kill Shisui-sensei? Itachi rose an eyebrow at the question. Why? To test my own limits, of course, you little monster. Naruto's eyes widened at the last word coming out of Itachi's mouth. He was tainted, having to deal with someone like you, a Jinchuriki, the container of the nine-tailed fox. That's why the villagers hate you, it's why everyone hates you. I killed Shisui because he was tainted by you. His own curiosity led to his downfall with you. He wasn't studying your cursed bloodline. He was studying the nine-tails in its natural habitat. Let me tell you a little secret. Itachi leaned by Naruto's ear, whose blood was pumping in the Jinjutsu world, fear and realization spreading its course across his entire body. Shisui is the one person who actually cared for you, and you are the cause of his death. Naruto's eyes widened as terror gripped his heart and squeezed it, crushing it as it shattered to millions of pieces. Shut up, Naruto whispered. Just shut up. Itachi rose his eyebrow again. What? The truth is ugly, isn't it? He whispered. You can't stand the fact that your most precious person is dead because of you. You lacked the strength to help him, and look where it got you. I said shut up, Naruto shouted, his blonde hair hanging in front of his eyes. Shut up, 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 shut up. He screamed over and over again. Itachi clamped his hand over Naruto's mouth and grinned. You want to kill me in the most painful way possible, don't you? He whispered. But you can't, you lack hatred, and hatred is what makes you stronger. Come face me when you have enough hatred. Until then, you aren't even worth killing. He felt the 72-hour mark hit and he released the Genjutsu, blood pouring down his right eye. Naruto fell to the ground. The last thing he saw was the outline of Itachi, and the crow from his shoulder flying towards Naruto, an abnormal Sharingan eye in its eye socket before everything went black. Naruto jolted awake, a scratchy feeling in his throat, as he dull blue eyes observed the area around him. He was still in the training grounds, but Itachi was nowhere to be seen. He was the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. That's why everyone hated him. They saw him as the Nine-Tails itself, and Itachi, who he thought was different, was in all actuality no different at all. It was his fault Shisui was dead. To say he was angry was an understatement. He would kill Itachi Uchiha if it was the last thing he did. Naruto walked through the village, trudging with a, vengeance. He ignored the usual talks and whispers like Shisui taught him. He walked straight into the library, basically slamming the door open as he walked up to the head librarian and looked her straight in the eyes. I need a book that discusses Jinchuriki, he said bluntly. The librarian rolled her eyes but gave him a sickening smile. Those are for shinobi only. I'm sorry, she said, giving him another fake smile. Naruto narrowed his eyes at her. I wasn't asking, he said darkly. Now give me a book about Jinchuriki before I tear this place apart looking for it, and I can get a lot done in 2 minutes. The librarian openly glared at the boy but relented as her shoulders drooped to her sides. Follow me, he followed her too. What a surprise. The civilian section of the books, and she handed him a book titled, The Basic Knowledge of Jinchuriki and Their Demons. That wasn't so hard now, was it? He said in a dark tone, frightening the librarian even further as she scurried away from the blonde. Naruto opened the book and began reading, finding out more about the word Jinchuriki and what it actually meant to be one. A couple of hours later, the blonde closed the book, pleased that he sat through the whole reading without being bothered or losing his own focus. He's learned a lot. He walked to the front desk and dropped the book on the desk, startling the library. If I require any more knowledge, I'll come here again. Try not to block my entry again or it'll get unpleasant to say the least. And with that, the blonde left, leaving a very disturbed librarian. Walking down the street, Naruto didn't know what to do with the newly acquired knowledge. What could he do with it? Everyone basically already knew about his status if Itachi was telling the truth, which he most likely was. He had no reason to lie. He heard the muttering again, but this time it was filled with more malice and hatred. Itachi killed the entire Uchiha clan besides his little brother. I heard the brat influenced him, drove him mad with rage. That little monster weakened Konoha again. This time it'll be more permanent than the last. Demon. Clan slayer. Monster. He killed his own sensei, Shursui Uchiha, I heard, in cold blood. Naruto's anger and rage got a hold of him at that last statement as he whirled around and caught the perpetrator who said those vile words and grabbed him by his shirt and sunk his elongated teeth into his neck, killing the man on the spot. "You piece of shit," Naruto spit. "How dare you accuse me of killing my most precious person?" He shouted, punching the already dead man as blood seeped from his mouth. Everyone who witnessed the atrocity had mixed reactions. Several threw up and then ran away, others were frozen by the pure horror of the action, and some were angry. The angry ones rushed the blonde, whose eyes grew wide and a sick grin grew on his face, chuckling a bit. "For more? Fine," he shouted as he jumped forward, using his nails to dig into the throat of one of them, flipping off of his stomach and kneeing another one in the stomach before rolling over the man's back and grasping a hunting knife from the other man, who had drawn it out of its small sheath, and stabbed the man in the heart, turned around, and stabbed the other in the back multiple times, laughing about it the whole time. The final one had switched from pure rage to pure fear as he watched the unknown son of the late fourth Hokage kill 3 civilians in a brutal fashion, and then turn his feral gaze to him, his final victim. "Fuck this," he muttered before he turned around and began running, only for Naruto to throw the knife at the man, it hitting the back of his skull and going into his brain, killing him instantly. Then, right at that moment, the boy was restrained by several different umbu. One that had a dog mask in particular and gray, spiky hair looked at the blonde with sadness in his eyes. He let his sensei down. Naruto, who was chained to the chair in front of the Hokage desk, as well as 2 umbu with a lion mask and a dog mask behind him. The Hokage was furious. "Naruto Uzumaki, do you know what you've done?" he shouted, and to the blonde's credit, he didn't flinch. "Obviously, it was all me and they deserved it. I don't regret a thing," he said, smirking proudly at his accomplishment, spitting out a little blood that wasn't his. "You do realize that this is punishable by death, correct?" The umbu with the dog mask tensed up, something Naruto noticed even though the man was behind him. "Or life in prison?" "Yes, I do, old man, but we both know you won't," he said, grinning madly at the Kage, who looked at the Jinchuriki with wide eyes. "Because out of everyone in this village, out of everyone in the world, we both know that I'm the second most important person to this village, you being the first." "And how, in pray tell, do you explain that?" the Hokage asked cryptically. Naruto rolled his eyes. "Isn't it obvious? I'm the Jinchuriki of this village, the container of the 9-tailed fox." The Hokage almost stood up at attention, anger spreading through his system, but not at Naruto. "Who told you this?" he shouted. Naruto's face turned to one of anger. "Itachi Uchiha. That son of a bitch told me everything, and he killed Shursui-sensei too. I'll kill him if it's the last thing I do," he shouted. The Hokage's eyes softened for a split second before they hardened again. "And why in pray tell was Shursui training you?" Naruto's face went blank before he smirked. "Does anyone in here have a bloodline, old man?" The Hokage rose his eyebrow, taking a puff of his pipe. "Why?" Naruto rolled his eyes, tapping his foot on the ground slightly impatiently. "Just tell me and I can show you." The Hokage sighed, but before he could say anything the umbu with the dog mask stepped forward. "I have a bloodline, though. It was never originally mine." Naruto shrugged and placed his hand on the gray-haired shinobi's arm and closed his eyes. A second passed and he opened his eyes, frowning. "I don't think it works if it wasn't yours, sorry. I think it has to run straight in your veins." The umbu nodded as he took another step back. This time, the lion umbu stepped forward. "I have one, try it." He spoke, his voice a lot deeper than the previous one, his only feature being his brown hair. Naruto let out a small sigh but grabbed the umbu's arms, and he suddenly felt his whole body get warm as that same tingly sensation going through his body, and he let go of the umbu's arm. "Could you take a step back?" Naruto said, and the Umbu took a good few amounts of steps away, while Sarutobi sat in his seat, still as he watched. Naruto made a single hand seal and suddenly, a large tree grew outside the window behind Sarutobi, causing both Umbu to almost fall down in shock. Sarutobi turned around and his eyes widened at the sight of the chakra-infused tree. Wood style? Naruto questioned. That's weird. How? How did you do that, Naruto? He asked, completely bewildered at the sight. Apparently, my bloodline is to copy other people's bloodline. I can only do one at a time, and apparently my proficiency at wielding it is better than the original user, but that means my chakra depletes faster. Sarutobi's eyes widened. You mean to tell me that if the strongest Hyuga, with the best Byakugan, came in the proximity of you, could you see and utilize the Byakugan better than him? He asked quickly. Naruto shook his head. In terms of range and seeing chakra paths, yes. But in terms of utilizing it, no. I need the proper practice and such with it. Sarutobi nodded, understanding now. Well, this changes many things now. Naruto smirked and began walking away. Of course it does, old man. I'm probably more important than you now to this village. He glanced back. And you've done a poor piss job at keeping me happy right now. Naruto, Sarutobi said, his voice hinting at a warning. Nope. I'll be doing what I want from now on. Plus, I read a book, The Law of Openly Talking About My Status as a Jinchuriki is Punishable by Death. I've just been fulfilling the law that you failed to protect. I'm done with this village, and right now, the only thing keeping me from leaving is the fact that I need a safe place to get stronger so I can kill Itachi. His fists were clenched, the tree outside growing thicker and pumping out more chakra. Naruto, Sarutobi said, his tone now gentle and filled with hidden remorse that neither dog nor lion could detect. Go visit the hospital. Room 233. You'll find the last Uchiha. Make friends with him. You'll find he might have the same feelings about Itachi as you do. Naruto laughed bitterly. And why would he have the same feelings as I? He questioned sarcastically. Itachi Uchiha was his brother, and he watched Itachi kill his entire family multiple times. He should be awake soon, go. Naruto hesitated but nodded. This last Uchiha would be interesting to meet. But he would have Itachi's head. And no one else. Chapter 4. Brothers. Itachi. The most hated person in all of Konoha, yet only 2 people hated him at the moment, but those 2 held enough hatred in their hearts to give even the angriest person nightmares. Those 2 people were none other than Naruto Uzumaki and Sasuke Uchiha. And today is the day that the author makes them known to one another. Naruto opened the door that Sarutobi told him Sasuke was in, and the first thing he saw was the mass of flowers sitting on a table across the room. Bright, colorful flowers that brightened the bland room, making it seem more lively. It disgusted him. He walked forward and saw Sasuke sitting up, eating his dinner, his charcoal-colored eyes showing no light, only holding that dullness that Naruto held in his own. Sasuke heard the door shut and he looked up, expecting to see a sympathetic nurse or another psychologist, but instead, he got the sight of a boy no older than him staring at him, his eyes hiding his true intentions. What do you want? Sasuke asked, annoyance creeping into his tone. He just wanted to be left alone. Naruto, however, didn't indulge the boy with an answer. He only walked forward before he was standing in front of Sasuke's bed. What? Sasuke asked again. This time anger was evident in his tone. You are Sasuke Uchiha, the last survivor of the famed Uchiha clan? Brother to Itachi. Sasuke scowled. Don't you dare mention that man to me, he yelled furiously. Naruto felt a small smirk creep onto his face. Sasuke. He began after Sasuke calmed down a little bit. Your brother took everything from me, just as he did to you. Now you have one of 2 choices. Sasuke fought the urge to roll his eyes at that. And what in pray tell are those? He asked a little bit too sarcastically as Naruto's whole demeanor switched from emotionless to angry in a split second, his face twisting with a sort of rage. That you will either help me kill Itachi, or you will butt out and watch as I kill Itachi myself, he said. Itachi is mine to kill, not yours. He took my family. He took mine too. The 2 boys glared at each other before Naruto sighed, reigning in his anger. Itachi is strong. He's only 13 and he killed off your entire clan, and by the time we get to his level, he'll be even stronger by then. I know I can't kill Itachi on my own, and I think you know you can't do it either. Bullshit. I'll gather all of my hatred and kill Itachi myself. Sasuke roared, throwing the blankets off his legs as the food he had been eating scattered across the ground. The plate breaking as well as he jumped across the table and grabbed a hold of Naruto's collar and shook him violently. Me! I'll kill him. I deserve to. Me! 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 He shouted as tears streamed freely down his cheeks, falling onto Naruto's blue shirt. Us. Naruto corrected. I don't know you very well, and I know you don't know a lot about me. But out of everyone in this village, we both have suffered more than any of them. We're a lot alike in my opinion. But I'm willing to learn more about you if it means Itachi dies. We're nothing alike, Sasuke said as he let go of Naruto's collar, turning away from the blonde. Naruto tilted his head. No? Let me list the facts then for ya. We both hate Itachi, we're both orphans as of right now, we both want to see Itachi dead, I think we're around the same age, and we both have formal training one way or another. Give me a good reason why we shouldn't team up. I don't know you, Sasuke whispered. How do I know you aren't one of Itachi's lackeys? Naruto's face grew dark and twisted as he stood up, brushing off the imaginary dust off of his shoulder. Because I'm not a piece of trash, he whispered venomously. Don't you ever say I'm in leagues with him again, he shouted. Sasuke flinched at the intensity of Naruto's tone, and he realized the boy wasn't playing around. How? How do you plan on carrying out this plan? Naruto fought the smirk that threatened to come on his face. He just needed to bait Sasuke just a little bit more. Simple, we train our asses off, finish the academy, and learn everything we can from them, then Itachi is ours. Sasuke let a dark smirk come across his face. Fine, but I hope you can keep up. Naruto let his smirk come through, his canines pointing out slightly. That's my line, Naruto said as he held out his index and middle finger towards Sasuke. Sasuke rose an eyebrow at the weird gesture. Why not just a handshake? Is that a finger shake or something? He asked, genuinely confused. Naruto laughed a little bit, but his face quickly turned to his normal expression. You'll get a full handshake once Itachi is dead. Sasuke's eyes lit up as he understood before he took his 2 fingers and the 2 shook fingers. I can get behind that, now what do we do? Naruto's sinister smile unnerved Sasuke, but he ignored that darkness behind that smile for now. Now we train. 6 years later. Naruto, a 13-year-old bordering 14 Sasuke shouted for the 4th time that day. If you don't get up in the next 20 seconds, I'll feed you to my fangirls. Naruto instantly shot up from his bed, a glare already set upon his face as he looked at Sasuke, who had a smirk plastered on his face. One day, Sasuke, I'm going to end up strangling you with Sakura's ribbon. Sasuke tilted his head, a face of feigned innocence being his expression. Why Sakura? You don't have a crush on the girl, do you? Naruto chuckled a little bit as he put on his clothes. I have no need for romance, Sasuke. You should know this, Sasuke smirked. I guess, her forehead is pretty big anyway. He trailed off, his smirk turning into a devilish grin as he saw Naruto's eye twitch a little bit. It isn't big, it's normal. He glanced at Sasuke as he put on his shoes. Besides, who are you to talk? The back of your hair looks like a duck's ass. Sasuke sputtered a little bit but settled with glaring at the blonde. At least I'm not named after a fucking thing in ramen. Touché, Naruto replied quickly as he caught the apples Sasuke threw at him. Whatever. Let's go. It's our last day and I don't want to be late, so I can flick off Mizuki one last time. He's our sensei, Naruto. Sasuke chided lightly. Naruto rolled his eyes. The only thing that sensei of ours has taught me is that he is like every other ignorant piece of trash of this village. At least Iruka broke out of that habit after our 3rd year. Sasuke nodded. Yes, Sasuke knew about the 9 tails in Naruto's stomach, nor did he particularly care. To him, it was just another weapon to use to help the 2 kill that bastard. Over the 6 years, whether they would admit it or not, the 2 boys were close. Some might even call them brothers if they didn't know any better by the way they talk and act around each other. The 2 boys quickly dashed across the roofs of the many houses and shops that Konoha was comprised of, not wanting to have to deal with the many civilians that the boys despised so greatly. Sasuke hated them for treating Naruto the way they did, and for treating him like royalty and trying to hand him everything. He would earn his strength, not take free handouts. That wasn't the Uchiha way. He would not be like his older brother. The 2 arrived at the academy, Naruto in front as Sasuke followed. They had a system. Naruto would deflect all of the girls away from Sasuke since they already treated him like the plague, so it was easier for him to go in the front. They walked into the classroom and sat down next to each other, leaving a seat open next to Naruto, who sat in the middle, the bickering of his classmates droning off in the background of his mind as he pulled out a book and began reading it, Sasuke doing the same. The book Naruto was reading was called Chakra Manipulation and Control, while Sasuke's book was called Chakra Theory Behind Fire Ninjutsu. The two were the top two of the class, Sasuke being first, and Naruto obviously being second. It wasn't that Sasuke was stronger, it was just that Naruto didn't care to pay attention when it came to lessons that didn't involve wars or anything about being a ninja. He was interested in the fights like the 4th Hokage versus the Nine Tails, or how the 4th decimated a whole army sent by IWA by himself. But his all-time favorite fight/battle was Hashirama versus Madara. Those two had been rumored to be the strongest shinobi of all time, the 4th being a close third. With Hashirama's infamous wood style and Madara's visual prowess, the two were nearly unstoppable as a team, and when they fought it was rumored that they created the waterfall that was now dubbed the Valley of the End. "Okay, class," Iruka said, clapping his hands, breaking Naruto out of his thoughts and bringing the class to order. "As you all know, today is officially your last day in the academy. But first, as you know, is the final test." The students groaned, but let Iruka continue speaking. "And since we got the paper and pencil test yesterday done, today will only be the 3 jutsu you were taught over the course of you being here. The clone jutsu, transformation jutsu, and the substitution jutsu. Took about an hour for everyone to complete the test, most people passing rather than failing, including Naruto and Sasuke, who had mastered those 3 jutsu 2 years before. I'm glad to finally say that you are now all genin of Konoha. Serve your village well, and let the will of fire burn brightly." Iruka shouted happily as everyone cheered. "Now for the exciting part. Team announcements." The scarred-nosed man began listing off teams, which Naruto didn't pay attention until he heard his name come up. Team 7 will consist of Naruto Uzumaki, Sakura Haruno, and Sasuke Uchiha. Naruto accidentally let a smile cross his face when he heard Sasuke's name. Everything was going according to plan. "Your sensei will be Kakashi Hatake, and it only got better. Naruto and Sasuke being trained by the strongest jounin in the village? Yes, please." Sakura looked at her 2 new teammates, a worried look in her eyes as she saw the glint in both Naruto's and Sasuke's eyes. But what she didn't know is that her life would change forever that day. And it was going to be very interesting. Chapter 5, Sensei. "If he doesn't show up in the next 5 minutes, I want you to kill him, Naruto," Sasuke said irritably. Naruto opened up one of his eyes and glanced at the closed door and sighed. "I'd rather not think I could kill a jounin Sasuke," he replied easily. "Besides, I believe I met this one before." They had been waiting for 3 hours, and Sasuke, surprisingly enough, was the only one showing his irritation towards the whole situation. Sakura was just sitting on Iruka's desk, swinging her feet carelessly as she looked out the window. She ignored when Sasuke asked Naruto to consider murdering their new sensei, but she found it amusing somewhat. She had lost her crush on the Uchiha a year or 2 ago, realizing that he wouldn't give her the time of day, or any girl for that matter, and Naruto, who was cute, was no different. She got bad vibes about both of them but kept her feelings to herself. Her mother always told her to never judge a book by its cover, but by the pages that made that book, and now that both of the best friends were on the same team with her, she would be able to read those pages soon. To say she was nervous was a little bit of an understatement. During her thoughts, she didn't notice the small glances Naruto kept giving her every few minutes, the boy trying to look almost everywhere but her. It wasn't that he was attracted to the pink-haired girl, it was just that she seemed familiar, like he had seen her before, but he just couldn't find out where she was from. Perhaps he saw her on the street, or something like that. He didn't know, but he would find out. The nagging feeling of familiarity was getting annoying. Then, the door opened and revealed a man with gray hair that was swept to the side, making it hang lazily in the air. He had dark eyes and a mask covering most of his face. He wore the basic jounin attire that most jounin wore except for a select few. "Sorry I'm late. I had to help an old lady carry her groceries up a rather large hill," he said, rubbing the back of his head. Naruto rose an eyebrow but didn't question it. "I don't know why you would help trash, but I don't really care either." He walked up to the jounin, sizing him up. "But you already know my views on the village, don't you, Dog-san?" Kakashi Hatake nodded. And do you mind it at all? As long as you don't kill anybody else, I don't think I'll care. He said simply, but that statement made Sakura's eyes widen. Anybody? Else? She whispered just loud enough for everyone in the room to hear, making the whisper irrelevant. Naruto rolled his eyes and glanced back at the girl. His eyes filled without a care in the world, only hatred and rage. Yeah, I killed a few people, well, a lot actually. Well, he glanced at Kakashi. You've killed people before, what counts as a lot? Is 13 a lot? Kakashi looked at his sensei's son with regret and sadness. To a veteran shinobi? No. To a fresh genin? Yes. Naruto then put his attention back to Sakura. Then yes, a lot. They got in my way and decided that trying to piss off the Jinchuriki of their village was a good idea. Now they're 6 feet under. Sakura looked at Naruto with a horrified expression plastered onto her face. Naruto, Kakashi said in a warning tone. Naruto looked at Kakashi. It doesn't matter anymore. Practically everyone in the village knows. She might as well too. She has a right as my teammate, doesn't she? Sakura's emerald-colored eyes widened as Naruto took off his blue shirt, revealing the normal body of a fit 13-year-old. The tips of his fingers glowed blue with chakra as he planted his fingers on his stomach, revealing black markings on his stomach. A tattoo? She said, fear evident in her voice. Naruto chuckled a little bit at the girl's ignorance. Nope, this is a complex seal the 4th Hokage made to beat the 9-tailed fox. He sealed it inside of me when I was born, thus making the whole village hate me for no apparent reason other than for someone to blame. When I was little, I wanted to prove them all wrong, but now I couldn't give a damn about those fuckers. He then turned to Kakashi, putting his shirt back on. But anyway, what were you gonna say, sensei? Kakashi's sweat dropped at the sudden mood change, but shook his head. Let's all just go to the roof, he said in a tired tone. The 3 new genin got to the roof to see Kakashi sitting hunched over on the railing at the edge of the building, waiting for them. He had done a weird disappearing thing after he said that one sentence. The 3 genin sat on the small steps that were on the roof, a respective distance between Naruto and Sasuke, the practical brothers sporting smirks as they eyed Kakashi to use as their stepping stone to power. However, Sakura had distanced herself as far as she could from the blonde-haired shinobi, fear still having her heart in its clutches, something Kakashi didn't miss. He sighed internally, knowing he'd have to fix that soon. Okay, how about we get to know each other, HM? Kakashi brought up. He glanced over at Sakura. How about you go first? Sakura looked startled to hear him tell her to go first but quickly shift the tables. How about you go first, sensei, to show us how it's done? She suggested. Kakashi sighed but nodded nonetheless. Fine. My name is Kakashi Hatake. I have my likes and dislikes. My hobbies? I don't really have any, to be frank. My dream? Guess I never thought about it. He looked at Sakura again. Now your turn. Sakura fumed at the man's lack of a real answer, but sighed in acceptance. My name is Sakura Haruno. I like studying, hanging out with my friends, and I guess ramen too. Naruto's eyebrow perked up at that final part, but he held his tongue. I don't really dislike anything too much besides the basic stuff like bullying and such. My hobbies, I don't really have any of those yet. My dream, she paused, frowning. Well, I don't have that either, but I want to make my parents proud, so that for sure. Kakashi nodded. Very good. Now how about you, Sasuke? Sasuke sighed but started anyway. My name is Sasuke Uchiha. I like tomatoes, training, and beating Naruto's ass in the spars we have. Naruto threw a small pebble at the Uchiha, who just dodged it with a smirk on his face. I dislike nothing because how can you dislike something you don't care for? My hobbies include learning new fire jutsu and once again, kicking Naruto's ass in the spars we have. This time he dodged a bigger pebble, the smirk still on his face. And my dream. The smirk disappeared as he suddenly got darker, the air decreasing in temperature, is to revive my clan and to kill a certain man. Kakashi nodded solemnly, knowing who Sasuke was talking about. Now last but not least, your turn, Naruto, he said, nodding towards the blonde. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. I guess I like ramen and training, beating Sasuke's ass easily, and probably the looks of the villagers they give me. I dislike the fact that Sasuke doesn't let me bring as much ramen as I want home, and I also dislike the dog that Kiba has. It's always sniffing me. My hobbies include training, whooping Sasuke's ass, This time he had to dodge a small knife, making him glare at Sasuke, who was smirking once again at the blonde. Kakashi and Sakura deadpanned at the two boys but ignored it. And maybe taking care of plants? I don't know, always wanted to try it. Weird. Sasuke snorted, only to receive a boot to the face. And finally, Naruto said as he grinned ferally, scaring Sakura even more and making Kakashi even more regretful. My dream isn't a dream at all, because I will make it a reality. I will kill Itachi Uchiha along with Sasuke. His demeanor shifted once again to a non-caring typical teen. Interesting, Kakashi noted. You all have good goals, I guess. I like you three, you have potential. Normally, I do a bell test your teamwork and such, but I'll just pass you now so we can get started with training HM? How about tomorrow we do a spar, you three versus me? Naruto and Sasuke shrugged indifferently while Sakura nodded nervously, never being in a true spar before. Good. See you all tomorrow in the AM at Training Ground 7. Don't be late. Oh, and also don't forget to eat breakfast. I want to see you all throw it up when you get too tired. Sakura turned green at that statement, already feeling a bit queasy after that statement. Anyways, see ya. And like that, the gray-haired Jounin disappeared. Naruto stood up and stretched, his joints popping as he let out a satisfied sigh before he put his hands in his pocket. He glanced at Sakura, who was walking away to the stairs that led back into the academy. Hey Sakura, he called out, causing her to freeze and slowly turn around, fear spreading around her entire body. He was a murderer after all. Naruto noticed the look in her eye and his train of thought was tore out of existence. Never mind. See you at training tomorrow. Sakura nodded quickly before she dashed towards the door, leaving Naruto and Sasuke alone on the roof. The hell was that? I thought you were gonna ask her out, Sasuke said, disappointment laced in his voice. Naruto glared at Sasuke. I was gonna see if she wanted to go to that ramen stand, Ichiraku's, with us to celebrate becoming genin, but it seems she wants nothing to do with us, especially me, he said, laughing a little bit at the last part. Whatever, that doesn't matter to me. Screw her. Let's go, he said as he began walking towards the edge of the building, planning on hopping the buildings to the ramen stand. Sasuke sighed. You and your obsession with ramen, whatever, let's go. They better have tomatoes. Chapter 6. The Spar. Sasuke eyed Naruto with a wary eye, watching as the blonde kept glancing at Sakura, who stood several feet from the two Avengers. Despite what many thought, Sasuke could read emotions pretty well, and right then, he knew that the only girl on the team was deathly afraid of the two of them. He let out an annoyed sigh before he looked at Naruto again. The blonde was growing more irritated by the second. This was not good. The last time he saw Naruto this irritated was when a villager intentionally knocked a bowl of ramen out of the blonde's hands. Yeah, Naruto didn't react too kindly to that. The man now had a little nub at the end of his arm and a nice place in the civilian public graveyard. Naruto stood up abruptly and began walking towards Sakura, who face shadowed by his hair. Sakura perked her head up like a deer caught eating in the woods and her emerald eyes widened in fear as she saw the blonde approaching her. Naruto, Sasuke shouted. What are you doing? Naruto stopped walking and looked back at Sasuke, and the look in his eyes was different from the usual hatred that was locked away in his dull blue eyes. This time, it held a sadistic gleam to it that unnerved Sasuke. What does it look like? She fears us, no. She fears me a lot more than she fears you. I've just decided to give her a real reason, that's all. He hissed, his eyes shifting to the Sharingan, making Sasuke narrow his eyes. When did you copy it? Naruto waved his hand in the air. Not important. Let's just say a long time ago when Shursui was still present. He turned to Sakura, the three-tomoed Sharingan spinning slightly as the world around them turned black, leaving only those two. I think that's enough, Naruto. Kakashi's voice rang out, putting his hand on Naruto's shoulder, his grip tight, but not enough to where it would hurt the blonde. I was only going to scare her a bit, so she would have a decent reason to be scared of me. He muttered more to himself than Kakashi, shrugging his hand off his shoulder. I think proudly admitting to killing more than 5 people is a good reason to be scared of someone, Naruto. Kakashi chided lazily, though his mind was going a mile a minute. Was Naruto lying? Was he really going to kill Sakura? He wouldn't put it above the blonde, but a part of him didn't want to believe that Naruto had no qualms with his teammates dying. Then again, at a time, Kakashi didn't either, but he wouldn't intentionally kill his own teammate. They deserved it. he whispered venomously. How did they deserve it? Sakura shouted, her previous anger all but forgotten as it was replaced with an overwhelming fury. How does anyone deserve death? I've heard rumors, and yesterday you confirmed them. You killed the woman who runs the orphanage in cold blood. Didn't you? They didn't deserve to die just because you saw it fit, you monster. Kakashi's eyes widened at the outburst as he suddenly shut his book and put it in his pocket, ready to act at a moment's notice. Yep, I killed that bitch in cold blood, Naruto said, his hair covering his eyes. Then again, when someone lies that you've been adopted and kicks you out of an orphanage for no reason other than having a demon in your gut with no repercussions is wrong in my book. They say you killed your own sensei. Is that true too? This time it took both Kakashi and Sasuke to restrain the blonde, who was practically foaming at the mouth as he cursed at Sakura, using every word in the book. How dare you accuse that of me? How dare you? How dare you? He screamed, his Sharingan spinning violently as he glared at Sakura. I killed those who accused me of that. I kill those who accuse me of killing my most precious person. They're all ignorant pieces of trash who think belittling a 7-year-old is fucking fun. Tears streamed freely out his eyes, shocking Sasuke to his core as he had never seen Naruto cry before. Sakura, Kakashi shouted, his voice no longer lazy, but that of a hardened veteran jounin. In what reality do monsters shed tears? He said sternly. Naruto hung his head as tears leaked out of his eyes and onto the ground. Sakura saw the tears and took a step back. Sasuke glared at the pinkette. Don't speak about things you know nothing about, he said dangerously. I'm sorry, she whispered as her own tears threatened to spill out. I didn't dash. Ignorance is bliss in a world filled with trash that can't be filtered nor cleaned, Naruto said darkly as Kakashi and Sasuke released him. He stood up, wiping the imaginary dirt off his shoulder. Screw practice, let's just go ahead and do some missions, he said, only for Kakashi to shake his head. No, like I said, we're going to be doing a team spar. Naruto rolled his eyes but took out a kunai, twisting it around his finger before he held it in a reverse grip. As you wish, doggy-sensei, he teased lightly, all bad mood in him seemingly gone as he stretched a little, popping his back. I need to relieve some stress anyways. Sasuke just ain't cutting it no more. Ass, Sasuke shouted, but he had a playful smirk on his face as he also held a kunai in hand, ready to attack Kakashi on a given notice. I'm sorry, Naruto, but I'm pretty sure that isn't proper grammar you just used, Kakashi said as he felt his knuckles pop as he pushed on them. I think I have to relieve some stress too. I guess I can use you guys as a punching bag for now before I get to Asuma. What are you talking about, Kakashi-sensei? Sakura asked as she also held a kunai in hand. What stress? Kakashi, I smiled. Well, I have to take care of you three as a genin team, and that's quite stressful enough with you three always bickering. To call that whole thing bickering was the largest understatement in history, as if Naruto was just told that he was only disliked in the village or that Sasuke lost a family member. Big understatement. And start, Kakashi shouted as Sakura disappeared into the forest surrounding the training grounds while Naruto and Sasuke just walked and stood beside each other. Smirks plastered onto their faces. Oh, a challenger already? Well, bring it, Kakashi said, gesturing the boys to come forward. Number 3, Sasuke asked, not moving from the spot he was standing in. Naruto thought about it for a second before shaking his head. No, he's a jounin, not a clone with more than half my chakra. I'd say number 27 would be our best course of action. Sasuke scowled but nodded. I hate it when you're right, he muttered before the two charged, ready to fight. And the fight was only beginning. Chapter 7, Animal. He kicked our asses, Sasuke muttered as he kicked a pebble across the road as the duo walked home. Yep, he is a jounin after all, they're supposed to be the strongest, Naruto answered simply. Sasuke glanced at him. And so was that bastard. Naruto's eye twitched at the memories but didn't respond. We haven't gotten much stronger, we needed a teacher. Screw those people, we tried, remember? They denied me and accepted you. I told you to go. Sasuke shook his head. We're in this together. I won't leave you in the dust more than I already have. Naruto smirked, but once again remained silent. Elsewhere. Hokage-sama, Kakashi greeted before turning to the rest of the council and bowed. Councilmen and councilwomen, Hamura, one of the third's longest and oldest advisors that has served Konoha for ages, began speaking. I assume they are both stronger than the average genin? Kakashi shook his head. That would be an understatement, he replied, sighing. Those two are equivalent with mid-tier chunin. How is this possible? Hayashi Hyuga asked, doubt in his voice. They had no teacher. All they had was themselves. How could they possibly be on the same level as our chunin? Kakashi ran a hand through his gray hair, obviously coming to terms with this information as well. I don't know. My guess is that they somehow snuck into the library and furthered their education about chakra and such from there, and then delved into the Uchiha clan's personal jutsu and studies. An O formed at Tsum Inuzuka's mouth, understanding dawning the rest of the council. I didn't think of that, damn. Those brats really are crafty, she muttered. But I can tell you're holding back on us, Kakashi-san. Tell us what's on your mind, she said softly, making it sound like it wasn't an order, but in all reality it was. Kakashi looked very reluctant to speak but sighed in resignation. They seemed disappointed. What do you mean by disappointed? Danzo, another elder that served on the same team as Sarutobi, had, the other student of Tobarama Senju. They seemed unhappy at their progress. I believe they were comparing themselves to me, and then to Itachi, him having been an umbu at their age. Hiruzen sighed, filling his pipe with tobacco rather angrily. Itachi was a prodigy and has been trained by the Uchiha since he could walk. He took a deep breath, calming his anger as he then glanced up at Kakashi. This is an executive order. You are to teach them whatever will give them more power so they will be sated and not be swayed to leave the village in pursuit of more power. Kakashi looked as if he were about to protest, but then Danzo spoke up. You can either do that, Kakashi, or I will personally take those two under my wing and ensure their loyalty to the leaf. Everyone in the room remained tense, waiting for the denial by the Hokage. But it never came. Hiruzen's face stone cold as he looked into Kakashi's one visible eye. Yes sir, he said, all argument now flooding out of his system. Then I would like to go ahead and request a C-rank mission in about 1 month. By that time they should be able to function ahead with Sakura Haruno, and that will give me the time to get her at least a little up to speed. Granted, Hiruzen said before waving his hand. This meeting is hereby adjourned. Time skip 1 month. Team 7. The Hokage greeted as he watched as Team 7 entered the room. It seems that a month has passed since you became genin. Are you ready for your first C-rank? Naruto and Sasuke both had smirks on their faces. Finally, I can actually prove my skills instead of wasting time doing lazy civilian work. I almost dashed. Naruto droned on, only to have Sasuke's hand cover his mouth. Shut up, idiot. You are not wasting my time by getting us in trouble. Irika, who was sitting in another desk next to the Hokage, was looking at the team nervously. Sir, are you sure they're ready? I mean, they're only fresh genin. They can't handle a C-rank, he tried explaining, but felt a massive amount of killing intent coming from the two Avengers, who were both glaring at him. I think my genin are more than capable of handling a C-rank, Irika, Kakashi said, a little annoyed that a chunin was questioning the Hokage's judgment and his as well. But Irika began protesting, but Kakashi interrupted him before he could speak. I'll have you know that both Naruto and Sasuke, and possibly even Sakura, could beat you. The former two would beat you rather soundly. Sakura's eyes widened at her sensei's indirect praise as a light pink blush came across her face. Don't be ridiculous, Kakashi, Irika retorted, anger on his face. I'm a chunin for a reason, no matter how. He paused for a second, searching for an appropriate response before he continued. Gifted these two are. They couldn't beat me if I went all out. Kakashi's eyes shined, and when Hiruzen saw this, a bead of sweat formed on his forehead. Well then, seems we've come to a dispute, the old man said before raising his finger slightly, signaling the umbu in the corner of the rooms. Well, I have a proposition for you. How about you fight Sasuke and Naruto? To get this foolish argument over with. Irika seemed alarmed. Hokage-sama, you can't be serious? Even two fresh genin can't take on an experienced chunin. Hiruzen was about to speak, but Naruto immediately spoke. Shut the hell up, you scar-faced pansy, he said darkly. Sasuke could whoop your ass with relative ease, and I'm stronger than he is. He got a small kick in the shin from Sasuke, but he returned a kick of his own without missing a beat. So imagine what I can do to you. He grinned. His eyes were wider than normal, unnerving Irika. Sir is the dash. No, Irika. This is Naruto Uzumaki. No one else. The Hokage said grimly. Naruto's grin only grew. You thought I was the damn Ninetales? How pathetic. You stupid nobodies and your baseless fears. He droned on. I'll take you on right here, right now, without even acting like a trained Jinchuriki. I'll beat you with my own power and no one else's. You arrogant brat. Irika shouted as he slammed his hand down on the desk rather harshly, a loud smack echoing throughout the room. You have no true formal training, and to think that you can take on someone like me is highly laughable, and so far it has only pissed everybody off. Irika was about to continue, but he suddenly found a hand clasped rather strongly around his throat, constricting any airflow that was trying to get into his lungs. But the one who had his hand on Irika's throat was not Naruto, but Sasuke. Irika, Naruto whispered dangerously. You are treading into territory that is none of your business. Sasuke and I have trained very hard to get where we are. I'm glad that you think that we aren't strong enough to face you, because as long as you have that incompetent arrogance of yours, you will always lose. But let me tell you this. Irika was turning purple from the lack of oxygen, but no one in the room made way to get Sasuke to let go. The moment you say something about you being superior to us to skill, I will make you wish that the old man made us fight you, because if you flaunt anymore, I will kill you. Irika felt his blood run cold. Okay. There was no doubt now. This boy was stronger than him. Way stronger. Kakashi drew out as soon as Sasuke let go of Irika, letting the man breathe once more. Let's get this C rank going, guys. Lots of experience coming your way, he said. Hiruzen let out a deep, heavy sigh. Send Tazuna-san in. I believe we have his protection detail ready. Chapter 8. Avengers vs. Missing Nin. Tazuna glanced at Naruto and Sasuke, who were walking about 10 feet in front of the group, suspiciously and with just a pinch of fear. He had overheard the conversation while he waited in the hallway, and he didn't know too much about how villages ran, but it was obvious that the two boys had threatened their superior. Now, whether it was arrogance or truth, Tazuna did not know, nor did he personally want to find out. He just wanted to get home safely and finish his bridge. Up ahead, the boys were quietly whispering to one another. So during the Chunin exams? Why during that time? Sasuke whispered curiously, not bothering to look at the blonde next to him, for it would make them look suspicious if they talked quietly while looking at each other. Because that way we can surprise the old man and get promoted. A true ninja never reveals their true power, for to do so would be detrimental to the mission and can lead to the opponent figuring you out and find ways to beat you. Naruto said as he saw a small puddle in the distance, a small twinge of chakra radiating off of it. Sasuke. Naruto spoke as he stopped walking, causing Sasuke to stop walking as well as he narrowed his eyes, seeing the puddle as well as his eyes slowly shifted into the Sharingan. I see it, he whispered as he felt Naruto slowly put his hand upon his shoulder, and Naruto let out a small grunt as his own blue eyes shifted into his own red 2, Sharingan, clearly seeing the chakra emitting off of the puddle in the distance. He turned to the rest of the team, who were surprised at the change in his eyes, but he quickly put a finger to his lips, silencing any questions for now. He pointed to the puddle, making Kakashi squint at it, and he sighed, rubbing his cheek through his mask as he nodded and approached Tazuna, and the two began whispering. Naruto, let's go, Sasuke shouted as the two ran towards the puddle, Naruto hurling kunai at the said puddle and Sasuke making a few rapid hand signs as he suddenly blew out a fireball that was heading towards the puddle, but two figures dressed in black and completely decked out with metal, including a clawed gauntlet on each of them with chains connected to the gauntlets, ready to shoot at a moment's notice. You get the left, I'll get the right. Sasuke nodded as he dashed left and slammed his kunai into the man's metal claws, a smirk plastered upon the Uchiha's face. You're in over your head, greenhorn, the mist ninja whispered as he slowly applied pressure to his gauntlet, getting Sasuke to back up a little bit, but the smirk never disappeared. No, I'm right where I'm supposed to be, he shouted, a splitting grin appearing on his face as he jumped up in the air and made only 2 hand signs. Fire style, Phoenix Flower Jutsu, he shouted as several small balls of flames came down upon the mist ninja, Gozu, who quickly made his own set of hand signs and slammed his hand into the ground, causing a thin layer of earth to sprout from the ground. He smirked as he felt the flames disappear on the earth he had created before he felt a small stabbing sensation in his legs before he felt his legs slowly burn from within, making him scream in agony as Sasuke stood over the shinobi. You fell for it. Whatever, it won't kill you. But you won't be able to walk without a cane again. That I can guarantee. He glanced at the wall made of earth and with one swift kick, he made it crumple back down to its original form. You're pathetic, Gozu of the Demon Brothers. I expected more of a C-rank criminal. Naruto, same time. Naruto jumped in the air, spinning a little as he flung several kunai of different color at the mist shinobi. Meizu. The kunai missed their intended target each time, making Meizu laugh a little. You missed, brat. Then again, you were just a genin. He shouted as he rushed forward, only for an orange kunai to suddenly begin glowing, making his eyes widen. I don't miss, you piece of trash, Naruto muttered, a sadistic grin on his face as all the colored kunai suddenly made an array around Meizu before an explosion rippled throughout the air. Naruto smirked as he began walking away, only to hear a shout of anger and pain. He whirled around and saw Meizu charging him. He met the clawed man's approach and kicked him in the testicles, causing the man to fall to the ground in pain. His clawed hand on the ground as his other hand nursed his now hurt precious parts. Naruto stabbed Meizu's hand to the ground before wrapping his legs around the man's neck and twisting sharply. Breaking Meizu's neck as a loud audible crack sounded throughout the path, getting everyone to look at Naruto with shock. Naruto stood up, dusting himself off as he kicked the corpse of Meizu on last time before putting his hands in his pockets and walked off towards Sasuke, who had a foot on top of Gozu's back, who was still groaning in pain. What is this piece of shit still doing alive, Sasuke? Naruto demanded. His eyes narrowed at his Uchiha friend. Interrogation, Sasuke answered simply. Naruto shook his head. There's no need. It's obvious he was here for the old man. He took out a kunai and approached Gozu, only for Kakashi to lay a hand on his shoulder. No, shinobi don't needlessly kill, he said, giving his 2 cents. Naruto angrily shrugged off Kakashi's hand off his shoulder, glaring at the masked ninja. He would have done the same to us. The strong live and the weak survive. He was weak and now the strong must kill him. Kakashi narrowed his visible eye at the genin before him. Naruto, stand down. That's an order. Tazuna and Sakura watched with shock as Naruto struggled with his inner demons, not including the Kyuubi as he grit his teeth in anger, his knuckles turning white from clenching his fist. Sasuke, he trailed off. Kill that bastard. Kakashi's eyes widened when Naruto said that and turned to Sasuke, who also had a kunai in hand, but the Uchiha didn't move. Don't, Kakashi warned. Naruto turned to Sasuke, his Sharingan peering into the other's Sharingan. Sasuke, kill him, he shouted angrily. He would have killed you without a second thought, so why should we give him a second chance? Sasuke glanced at Kakashi, then Naruto, back to Kakashi and then back at Naruto before he hung his head, his teeth grinding against one another. I can't. I'm sorry, Naruto. Naruto's eyes widened in disbelief. Sasuke never said no when it came down to training, killing, and/or fighting. So what was different? Grrrh. Naruto growled a little before he began walking forward and Kakashi let out a breath he hadn't known he had been holding. Everything was fine. He tied Meizu up to a tree and summoned a dog, telling the dog to go back to Konoha so that they would get a team to come and pick up Meizu to arrest him. As the dog scampered off, the group made their way back on their journey. Naruto, Kakashi spoke softly as he walked beside the blonde. I'm sorry, but I'm trying to limit you from killing. Every time someone kills, a piece inside of them dies as well. I don't want you to lose yourself in the darkness. I've been there, and I never want to go back. Naruto looked up at his sensei, a darkness in his eyes. Sensei, I long to be in the darkness. That's the difference between Sasuke and I. One day, after everything is done and Itachi is dead, Sasuke will be able to find happiness. He can restore the Uchiha clan and have a wife and kids, however, I am doomed to eternal suffering. In the darkness, I won't feel anything anymore. Kakashi looked at the 13-year-old with sadness in his one eye. He hadn't been expecting such an answer. I'm sorry you feel that way. How about this? Let's make a deal. Naruto shifted one eyebrow higher than the other, indicating he was listening. In the time between now and when you become a Chunin, if I can get you to love or cherish something, or have something that will make you happy, then you have to willingly get away from the darkness. And if you cannot? Kakashi shrugged. I'll give you whatever you want. Taijutsu, ninjutsu, summoning contract, whatever, including my Make-Out Paradise books. Naruto felt a smile tug at his lips at that last statement. Okay, you have a deal, old man, he said, holding out his hand. Kakashi, I smiled and shook it. Great, he replied as he watched Naruto's pace quicken a bit to catch up with Sasuke. He then stopped walking. Wait a minute. A tick mark appeared on his forehead. I'm not old. This is my natural hair color from birth. Chapter 9, Par or Spar. The group had just gotten off the tiny rowboat when Naruto let off a loose growl come out of his throat, getting everyone's attention. Naruto, Sakura began, looking at him with a weird expression. What's wrong? Naruto glanced at the pink-haired girl but shook his head. I'm irritated a bit. We've been walking on the same damn path for 2 days and nothing has happened except for those pieces of trash the other day. He spat out bitterly as if something nasty had entered his mouth. And on top of that, he glanced at Sasuke, who was glaring at the blonde for some weird reason. What the hell, Kakashi? Can I go up ahead and scout? I just need to clear my thoughts. Kakashi contemplated before shrugging. What's the worst that could happen? Go ahead, but make sure you don't start any trouble. It'd be a pain to have to save you all over again. Naruto clicked his tongue in annoyance, but he quickly ran off ahead, leaving the group behind. He's so weird, that one. Tazuna spoke, a sudden relief in his voice. He always has me on edge for some reason. Kakashi, I smiled at Tazuna. Yes, he and Sasuke tend to have that effect on people, he replied easily. HN was all Sasuke had to say. Sakura, who had been basically twiddling her thumbs the entire time on this mission, decided to speak once again. You get used to it after a month and a half. Tazuna gave the girl a pity-filled gaze. Sorry you have to put up with those two. Another HN came out of Sasuke's mouth. He also contemplated going up ahead like Naruto had done, but decided against it. Whenever the blonde needed time alone, stuff got destroyed. Naruto stopped running after he was 2 miles away from the group and he let out a large sigh, the excess air in his lungs slowly drifting away, rejoining the air once again. Stupid people, interrupting my fun. I should have been allowed to kill him, he muttered to himself. But on top of that, Sasuke refused to kill him too. He didn't listen to me. The hell was all that talk with? I'll follow you into hell. All those years ago for? A lie? Bah, what a hypocrite. He said as he put his hands in his pockets, a glare set permanently on his face. He was about to continue ranting when he saw a rustling in a bush a few yards in front of him. He stopped and trained his eyes on the bush. Then, a large man appeared onto the roadway. He was shirtless and had 2 leather wristbands on his forearms that were of cow skin, hide, whatever. He had on gray striped pants with cowhide leg warmers with a pair of blue sandals. He had bandages wrapped around his face with gray narrowed eyes and a scratched-out mist headband, marking him a missing ninja. Humph, from the looks of it, you're a leaf shinobi, the man said, pointing at Naruto's headband. What are you doing out here? Oh wow, a ninja with observational skills. What a trick, Naruto muttered before meeting the man's gaze. Listen here, Zabuza of the Bloody Mist. I have no intention of telling you anything, but I need to ask you something instead. I'm on a mission guarding an old man, and I already dispatched 2 other missing ninja from Mist who were after the said old man. Can I assume you're after him as well? Zabuza smirked underneath his bandages. You're a bright kid. I'll give you that. Yeah, I'm after the old man. You gonna stop me? Naruto shrugged as he shifted into a fighting stance. I'd rather not fail my first C-rank mission if that's all fair with you. You're A rank, right? Or did your rank decrease since I've read the bingo book? Zabuza snarled at the insult as he took off the massive sword that was on his back like it was nothing, brandishing it as Naruto saw his reflection glinting off the blade. I'll kill you now and then get on with your teammates, I guess, he said, pointing the large sword at Naruto. I hope the Leaf Village doesn't raise the pansies like the rest of the world does nowadays. The newer generation is weak, he shouted before charging. Naruto smirked as he let his eyes shift into the Sharingan as he easily tracked Zabuza's movements before he jumped in the air, landing on Zabuza's head before kicking off, making Zabuza stumble forward. Nobody is around Zabuza, Naruto said as a grin crossed his face, his hair hiding his eyes. You know what that means, right? Zabuza rose one of his non-existent eyebrows. And what does that mean, pray tell? Naruto lifted his head, his Sharingan eyes wide, an ear-wide grin on his face. It means I get to go all out with no restraints. I haven't had to do that in a long time, and I think it'll be fun to let loose. Tell me what you think when I meet you in hell. Naruto shouted as he suddenly disappeared in a burst of smoke. In his place was now a blade of grass. Replacement jutsu? With a piece of grass? How is that possible? Zabuza said as he got on guard. He heard an echo of laughter ripple throughout the air around him, not being able to pinpoint the laughter to any one spot. When one masters a simple jutsu, he heard the voice come from the trees in front of him. Then they can use it to any extent they wish. This time it came from the bushes behind him. And in the end, even a D-rank jutsu like this can be dangerous. A kunai was hurled over Zabuza's head, making Zabuza smirk. You missed, but in a split second, instead of the kunai above his head, Naruto was. Did I? He whispered as Zabuza's eyes widened in shock before a kunai was lodged in between his shoulder blade and his right arm, causing it to go slack and drop the sword. Naruto dropped on all fours and kicked Zabuza's feet out from under him, making the large man fall flat on his back as he grabbed the large cleaver-like blade off the ground, it being surprisingly lighter than it looked. Ha! My first A-ranked kill. Good! Naruto shouted as he brought the blade down, only to meet a mysterious figure in a blank umbu mask with the mist insignia in the middle of the mask, separating the missing ninja and the blonde with just a few needles made of ice. Zabuza-sama, run, the voice said. Zabuza did not hesitate to take off running, making Naruto growl in annoyance. You're a bug. Now be good and be squashed. Naruto shouted as he lifted the blade up in the air and spun around, only to meet empty air. Too slow, a voice sounded from behind him as he whirled around, grasping onto the unknown ninja's wrist, only for his Sharingan to disappear in an instant, only to be replaced as ice suddenly surrounded the blonde. What the hell? He shouted, the familiar warm feeling spreading across his body as he saw the umbu-like figure to look at him in what appeared to be shocked, but he couldn't be sure due to the mask blocking their facial features. I see, we will meet again in the distant future, that I can guarantee, the figure said monotonously before disappearing in a burst of water, revealing that it was a water clone the whole time. Damn it! Naruto shouted as he willed the ice away from him. He had lost the Sharingan and he could no longer track their chakra movements or trace their networks any longer, especially since he couldn't copy Sasuke's own Sharingan since he was too far behind. He glanced at the sword in his right hand aside, sticking it into the ground before leaning against it, waiting. At least the mission wasn't boring anymore. Plus, he got a new toy. Chapter 10. A new skill. Tazuna, Sasuke, Sakura, and Kakashi arrived, and the first thing they noticed was Naruto leaning against a rather long sword, one which Kakashi had recognized as one of the 7 blades of the hidden mist. Where'd you get that, Naruto? He said, his tone full of worry as he noticed fresh blood on the genin's hands. Zabuza Momochi is weak, he said. All I used was a kunai, a blade of grass, and the replacement jutsu. Naruto, that's incredible, Kakashi said in a bewildered tone. Even I would have had trouble with him, and you beat him. He looked around a little bit and saw nothing, but instead of him voicing his question, Sakura spoke. Did you kill him? She was divided on how to feel. The missing ninja would have been a big problem if he wasn't dead, but she also didn't want people to die needlessly. Naruto shook his head. Nope. I injured him pretty bad though. He also has help and they have a bloodline. Sasuke rose his eyebrow. Which one? Naruto sighed as he lifted his palm in the air as ice suddenly spread into the air, which was turning colder by the second. It seems we have an ice wielder aiding our missing nin. He spoke in a bored tone before glancing at Tazuna. But whatever. I have a new toy and I would very much to get this dumb journey over with already. You know that we have to walk all the way back. Right? Kakashi said in a low tone. Naruto's eyes widened before he cursed. I hate walking, he muttered before picking up the large sword before taking out a scroll and sealing it within. Whatever, let's go. You would think that I'd be the one to say that, Kakashi commented. They arrived at Tazuna's house, who had offered to let them stay in the 2 guest rooms, which they gladly took them up on that offer. Now they were eating dinner at the table discussing their game plans. I say we don't give them a chance, Sasuke said darkly, unnerving Tazuna and Tsunami, Tazuna's daughter, We should go find their camps and just kill them before anything else. We don't know how many more shinobi are out there, Sasuke. For all we know, there could be 10 shinobi stronger than Zabuza there, Kakashi said logically. So for now, I suggest we train all of us. Naruto, Sasuke, Sakura, you're gonna learn something new. Oh, Naruto perked up for the first time that evening. And what's that? Maybe something I can use in the future, he said in an annoyed tone. You've been quiet all night and then you speak up when we're going to learn something? And you spit on it already. Sasuke spat out, glaring at Naruto, who only gave him a dismissive glance. But on the inside, he was seething. Where was your input on the whole attacking the camp of Zabuza and his friend? Or maybe relocating Tazuna and his family to a safer part, or making shadow clones to help build the bridge, huh? Why didn't you speak when it came to that? Kakashi and Sakura looked at the two, the former having a feeling that this was something deeper than just Sasuke not killing one of the Mist brothers, and the latter who was nervous that her two teammates would end up fighting inside the house and wrecking it. You want my input on the whole situation, huh? Naruto said, taking one of his chopsticks and stabbing the piece of meat on his plate. I say we go to the source of all our problems. Take out Gato. He's only a man, what can he do? He said simply, and was about to continue when a child's voice arose throughout the air. You can't beat Gato, the child yelled. He's invincible, he'll just kill you all, he said, pointing at Naruto directly, who rose his eyebrow. Inari, Tsunami chastised. Don't yell at our guests. Where are your manners? Well, Naruto began, his blue eyes gazing into Inari's dark brown. If we die, we're not, but if we are, then what's gonna happen to you then? You think Gato's gonna let Tazuna's family get away unpunished? Let me tell you what's going to happen if we die, he said, chewing his meat and swallowing. Naruto, Kakashi warned. Don't. Naruto scowled at his sensei, standing up and leaning on the table with his two hands, small crystals of ice forming where his hands were placed. No, he needs to hear this. Inari, was it? If we die, your grandpa is going to die in a rather gruesome fashion to send a message to the rest of Wave. Then, the people who were helping him build are going to die too. Then, they go after his family, not out of him scared you'll get revenge, no, just so he can spite Tazuna. And you know what he does to dear old mom. Naruto, Sasuke shouted. Don't you dare. Naruto glanced at Sasuke, and the corners of his lips tilted upwards, revealing a sinister smirk. They are gonna rape her, he said. Then, if he has any gay guys or just some weird girl with a fetish, they'll rape you too before you're sold as sex slaves. That's what's gonna happen, he shouted, ice now dispersing from around his body as he shivered with uncontained rage. So don't go around telling us that we're gonna die. Tsunami was holding her child in her arms. Both had tears coming down their eyes as Tazuna glared at the table and the bottle of sake in his hands. Naruto, Sasuke spoke between gritted teeth. You me outside. Now. Naruto rolled his eyes as he quickly walked out the door, but not before being grabbed by the elbow by Sakura, who also had tears in her emerald-colored eyes. Why did you say those things? She asked. Why would you tear up a child's innocence like that? Naruto didn't even give her a glance of pity as he shook her off. Why should I spare a child's innocence? Did anyone spare mine? He asked rhetorically before walking out the door, soon followed by Sasuke. When the two were a decent distance from the house, Naruto stopped walking as he noticed Kakashi was walking about 5 yards away from Sasuke, just there to observe. I told you not to, Sasuke shouted. Why'd you have to do that? Who do you think you are yelling at me like that? Naruto spoke, his breath being seen in the cold air. Don't talk down to me, Sasuke shouted as his Sharingan activated with 2 commas in each eye. You need to be taken down a peg or two. Sasuke, I don't want to fight you, Naruto spoke, his voice completely calm. His eyes closed as he took a deep breath. Why don't you just go take your anger out of a tree? Why do you have to bring everyone down? It was fine in the academy when you irritated everyone, but now you're just taking your anger out on the world for no reason. Naruto's eyes snapped open, his pupils not in vertical shape, like a snake's. Watch your tone, Uchiha, he warned. Do not forget who you're speaking to, or our agreement. Screw the agreement. I won't follow your orders anymore, he shouted. You are below Kakashi-sensei, and I won't let you order me to do something that he decides shouldn't be done. Screw the agreement? Naruto said, Fine, Sasuke Uchiha. I hereby cut all ties with you, and your ties with me. We are no longer comrades, friends, nor brothers. I can no longer trust you, and for that, Naruto smirked. I won't take you with me when I kill Itachi. Kakashi's eyes widened at that. How could Naruto deny something that Sasuke has based his whole life upon? Sasuke, however, reacted poorly to the news. How dare you? He shouted. Itachi is mine to kill. Not some clanless loser whose sensei was weak and killed. He killed my entire family. I am the last Uchiha, and I alone shall avenge them. The air suddenly got cold. Really cold as Naruto blue eyes shined throughout the night. What did you say? He said in a neutral tone, it just being low enough to be considered a whisper. About Shisui-sensei? I said that he was the only thing you lost, and if he were greatest in the clan, then Itachi wouldn't have killed him. He was like everyone else. Weak. Sasuke, you wanted to fight, right? To make me stop looking down on you? Okay. He stepped forward out into the moonlight, an emotionless facade on his face. I'll oblige. Kakashi was about to interfere, but Sasuke held out his hand, stopping the copy Nin from doing anything. This is my fight, Kakashi. Stay out of it. Sasuke got into his stance and awaited Naruto to get into his. After a moment, Naruto hadn't shifted at all. What are you doing? Get ready, he shouted angrily. Naruto saw the thin layer of ice that had covered his arm, much like all those years ago. Memories flooded in at that night, and when they passed, nothing but anger, hatred, and despair filled Naruto's mind. I am ready, he spoke clearly. I won't need anything to defeat you, not a special style nor my bloodline. He willed the ice on his arm to melt away back into water, it splashing onto the ground like someone had dumped a bucket right in front of Naruto. You bastard! Sasuke glared at Naruto. I'll teach you some humility, as he rushed forward, kunai in hand. As soon as he got close to Naruto and tried to swipe at the boy, Naruto's hand intercepted Sasuke's own in an iron grip. For some reason, you're blind. The gap between us, it's just too large. You're outclassed, Sasuke. Naruto said before suddenly, Sasuke felt as if he were hit by a building as Naruto moved almost so fast that he couldn't see it. Sasuke flew back as he coughed a little back, laying on his back. He slowly got back up, his glare on increasing as he looked at Naruto. What gap? You're just a loser. While I'm the heir to the Uchiha clan, he shouted, making a few hand signs. Are you truly an heir though? Naruto asked softly. I mean, you can only be the leader of a clan if there is a clan. Last I checked. His eyes grew dark as he smirked. Your clan disappeared in a single night. Sasuke's eyes widened as he suddenly filled his lungs with air as he blew out the biggest fireball he's ever created, his rage and potent chakra making the fireball ever increase. Heh, you almost burnt my clothes? Naruto whispered in Sasuke's ear, making the Uchiha's eyes turn into the size of plates as he was suddenly backhanded into a nearby tree, Naruto not even breaking a sweat. Like I said, Sasuke, all those spars between us were fake. I held myself back so that you could improve. What a waste of time that was, and to think I needed you to fulfill my goal in life. Now sit in despair as you realize your lifelong dream has been taken away from you with a snap of a finger. Naruto, Kakashi whispered in awe. He had been able to track the blonde's movement, but he still had incredible speed. He then narrowed his one visible eye as he saw Sasuke lying at the base of the tree, where a large crack had formed from the force Sasuke hit it with. Naruto, Kakashi said in a more firm tone. We need to talk now. Naruto walked up to Kakashi, calm as can be. Is there something I can help you with, sensei? He asked as if he hadn't just basically cut his only friend off from his life. I know that the world hasn't been so kind to you, especially back then, but you need to show compassion. Instead of hurting others, you should try to lift them up. Learn from your own experiences and make the world a better place. Only then will you ever be at peace. Kakashi-sensei, Naruto whispered as his hands turned into fists. I need to think. If you need me, just spike your chakra. I'll feel it. Kakashi looked at Naruto with his worried eye as the blonde walked into the forest. He let out a sigh as he picked up an unconscious Sasuke. Teens and their emotional bullshit, he said simply before walking into the house. What happened to Sasuke? Sakura asked in a worried tone. I heard a loud bang outside and for a second I thought Zabuza came back, Kakashi sighed. No, this was worse. Naruto and Sasuke don't seem to be friends anymore. It seems like they hate each other now. But we'll need to fix this or the whole team will get disrupted. I'll teach you tomorrow at noon since Naruto is still out there. The brat knocked out his own teammate? What a badass, Tazuna commented before his eyes hardened. But that doesn't mean he can speak the way he does in this house. I'm grateful for him helping protect me, but he verbally attacked my grandson and I will not stand for that, no matter how true it may be. Kakashi nodded to the man. I understand. Naruto is just angry about what happened earlier today. He should be fine in a day or two. Tazuna sighed before taking a swig of his sake. I sure hope you're right, he muttered. Kakashi looked at Sakura, who was torn between who to worry about. Her unconscious teammate, or her other teammate who just lost his only friend. Noticing this, Kakashi spoke. How about you go find Naruto and tell him to come on back? You should be able to lure him back with saying that I'll teach him a jutsu or two, which I'm planning on teaching all three of you. Sakura swallowed the saliva in her mouth as she stood up from her chair. Are you sure? He nodded. Naruto was calm and collected the whole time he fought Sasuke. Well, except for that one part, but he was calm when I spoke to him. He finished. Sakura, with doubt in her eyes, nodded. Yes, sensei. Kakashi then glanced at the Uchiha that was slung over his shoulder. Now, what should I tell you? Sakura walked through the woods nervously, her eyes scanning the dark forest as she looked for her teammate. Naruto, she called out. She then kept dead quiet before she heard a soft whimpering, kind of sounding like someone crying. She slowly crept forward and saw Naruto looking at a small, frozen puddle on the ground as he wept freely. He was crying. This was the first time she had ever seen the boy so vulnerable, so. Human. Gone was the Avenger and in was the boy who had lost everything. She felt her heart go out to the blonde almost instantly, but what could she do? She didn't know him all that well, and she definitely didn't know what to say about the whole Sasuke situation. But here was Naruto Uzumaki, crying like a baby over a lost friend. No, a lost brother. Then suddenly, with her body moving on its own, she wrapped Naruto into a hug, and she felt him stiffen up as she rested her chin against his shoulder, her eyes shut as she tried to comfort the blonde. It's okay. Everything is going to be fine. You're going to be fine. It's going to be okay. She whispered into his ear over and over and over again, as he suddenly relaxed into her embrace, as he cried even harder. No one has comforted him like that or told him that everything would be all right. So he cried, releasing all the years' worth of sadness and despair he has felt. In the lonely Uzumaki, out the Avenger. And all that was left was Sakura Haruno holding a crying Uzumaki Naruto in the forest of the Land of Waves. Chapter 12, Let Go. So, you basically made a whole new version of Chidori? Kakashi asked. Naruto nodded. And it's a lot more destructive than mine? Again, Naruto nodded. The gray-haired man sighed. This is why my hair is gray. I can't deal with you little bastards. This made Naruto chuckle lightly as he rubbed the back of his head. You know you love us? Kakashi eyed Naruto with a bored glance. I wouldn't bet money on that. Naruto faltered for a second, but he just laughed a little bit more before he let out a yawn. His feet hanging off the side of the bridge that Tazuna was building with Kakashi next to him, both there to guard Tazuna. Kaka-sensei, can I ask you something? Kakashi rose an eyebrow. Sure, he answered. How do you get your Sharingan? After a moment of silence, Kakashi let out a drawn-out sigh. Ah, now that's a story right there. He then spoke of his old team that included a girl named Rin Noera, a man named Minato Namikaze, who would go on to be the fourth Hokage, and a boy named Obito Uchiha. Apparently, during the Third Great Ninja War, Obito Uchiha was crushed by a falling boulder that was caused by an IWA ninja, and as a gift for becoming a Jounin, Obito gave Kakashi his Sharingan before he died when the rest of the cave collapsed. It was the main reason as to why Kakashi was now the way he was, and why he was always late so he could honor his deceased friend who was also always late. I see. I'm sorry for your loss, Naruto stated. I too can sympathize with your feelings. Kakashi looked at Naruto curiously. I know, and since I told you about my past, could you tell me about yours? Maybe some things about Shursui? Naruto felt his hair stand up on his neck before he forced himself to calm down after hearing that name. Every time Shursui was mentioned, Itachi came to mind, and whenever Itachi came to mind, hatred filled Naruto's entire being. He reined all that hatred in, bottling it up before he let out a sigh that was equal in length to Kakashi's own previous sigh. I can, he spoke softly. Shursui-sensei was almost like a father to me, or an older brother that I could never have. He was everything that I had, and I like to think that he thought of me like a little brother or as a son. A small, sad smile came across Naruto's lips as he spoke of Shursui and his own adventures with the year they had together. We trained together, sparred together, ate together, and he taught me so much in so little time, and in return, I let him study me and my bloodline. I remember, this one time. Flashback. Here you go, Naruto. Straight from the kitchen, Shursui said as he handed the blonde a plate that had all sorts of meats and vegetables on them. Naruto looked at the food for a second before he pushed the plate away, making Shursui hang his head. Is it burnt again? Shursui-sensei, you burned the water yesterday. How could you think that carrots go in the oven and the meat in the burnt water you made once again today? Shursui seemed to only hang his head further as his depression increased. Naruto then let a grin slide across his face. But don't worry, sensei. We can always go out for ramen. Shursui looked up, meeting Naruto's sky-colored eyes with a deadpan. You've been running me dry, Naruto. I can't even keep up with your appetite. He checked his wallet and saw the thick wad of cash still there. Being an umbu paid quite handsomely. Hey, you're the one who invited me to live with you, and I can't get a job because those dumb villagers won't let me. Shursui grinned as he held a hand on Naruto's blonde hair, causing the said blonde to pout a little. I'm just kidding. You know you help plenty enough by keeping the house clean. Come on, let's go to Ikaraku's. Naruto's face brightened up as he ran to get his shoes on, leaving Shursui there with a faint smile on his lips. Flashback end. He really meant a lot to you, didn't he? Kakashi asked. Naruto looked at the water traveling the bridge below them, watching as it flew by without a care in the world. He too wished that he could travel as freely and without a care like that flow of water. He did, he answered. Kakashi saw Naruto's mood now ruined and I smiled at the boy. Well, I hope that one day, I can mean a lot to you too, he said. Naruto looked at Kakashi with wide eyes before he turned back to the water, a faint smile on his lips. Maybe one day, Kakashi grinned under his mask. I'll hold you to that. And I shall hold you to that as well, Naruto said as he stood up, stretching a bit. I think I'm going to go switch out with the little shit or Sakura. I need a nap. Kakashi nodded. Same, but as the leader of our little group, I can't nap. Naruto rose an eyebrow. Don't you know shadow clones? Like, the ones that stay even if you're asleep. Kakashi nodded. I do, but it splits my power in half and if Zabuza decides to come back then, I can't just fight him with a clone. And I'll be asleep at the house, so I won't wake up because the memories transferred will seem like a dream, he explained, causing Naruto to form an O with his mouth. I see, well, see her, I guess. Kakashi only raised his right hand, saying his own goodbye with the gesture before he watched the builders do their job. His sensei's son was sure interesting. Flashback. Please, Hokage-sama. I'm begging you, Kakashi pleaded, his one visible eye pleading. Hiruzen sighed as he took the pipe out of his mouth. I cannot, Kakashi. I cannot allow the Jinchuriki to be adopted by any means. Why do you think I had the maiden kick Naruto out of the orphanage after a lovely couple wanted to adopt him? The council is already pushing me to either give him up to Danzo or just kill him, and it's against the law for a Jinchuriki to be adopted, so I have no other choice than to leave him be. We're talking about Minato-sensei's son here, Kakashi cried. We can't just let him out on the streets like this. He's practically royalty. Hiruzen narrowed his eyes at Kakashi. I will not allow you to adopt that boy and that is final, he barked. Am I clear? Kakashi grimaced under the Hokage's stare and nodded. Crystal, he said in between gritted teeth. But the moment he goes ballistic, the very second he decides to cut this village down, it will be your fault because you let him get like that. He whispered venomously. Leave, Hiruzen roared, his pipe now on the ground as he glared freely at Kakashi, who only gave him a mock bow before leaving. Flashback end. Couple days later. Naruto grinned as he sliced clean through a tree with his hand, which was emblazed with lightning, having successfully completed the Chidori. Finally, he muttered. Now I have to get that whole body Chidori thing under control and I'll have manipulated my first jutsu, he spoke to himself. He was in the forest alone at the moment, having needed silence and isolation in order to concentrate. Naruto, he heard a familiar voice ring out. He turned his head to see Kakashi running at him, slower than usual as he approached. Head to the bridge. Now, he shouted. Naruto rose an eyebrow. Why? He asked. Zabuza is back, and he is help, and like that the Kakashi turned to smoke. Naruto's eyes widened. Kakashi was only at half power right now. He immediately ran as fast as he could to the bridge. Sensei, Sasuke Sakura, please be okay. Chapter 13, Strong. Naruto arrived on the bridge to see Kakashi struggling against Zabuza and Sasuke struggling against the masked ninja. Zabuza, who no longer had his sword, was holding a thin katana in one hand and a longer and wider sword in the other, dual-wielding ferociously as he tried to cut Kakashi in two, who was barely defending with a single kunai. Sasuke wasn't faring much better, having many needles made of ice sticking out of his body. He glanced to the right and saw Sakura shielding Tazuna, her kunai in a reverse grip as she quivered in her sandals. Naruto rushed forward, taking the large sword that once belonged to Zabuza off his back and swung it at the man, who barely dodged the swipe. Heh! You brought me my sword, great! Zabuza shouted, grinning under his bandages as he suddenly spun in the air and kicked Naruto in the chest, sending him sliding back a little bit, his breathing a little bit uneven from the kick. Naruto! Kakashi shouted as he re-engaged Zabuza. Go help Sasuke. I have my strength back. Naruto almost rolled his eyes but relented, following Kakashi's instructions as he rushed the masked ninja that was battling Sasuke. He swung the sword on the ground, but the ice wielder dodged just in time, making the sword plant itself into the concrete. Ignoring the sword for now, Naruto hurled himself forward, using the sword's handle to propel himself further, and he drop-kicked the fake Hunter Nin, making them land on their back. Sasuke glared at Naruto. I didn't need your help, he said between gritted teeth. Naruto didn't even bother looking at Sasuke, something he's been doing a lot more recently as of lately. The needles in your skin say otherwise, he said simply. Go help Kakashi-sensei, you're not needed here. I'll handle them. Sasuke's face twisted to one of rage as he stayed put. I'm not leaving, this is my fight, he shouted at Naruto. Naruto closed his eyes and let out a deep sigh before his eyes changed to those of the Kyuubi. I'm not asking, Uchiha, he shouted, the dark chakra enhancing his voice. Now leave. Sasuke took a step back in shock and fear. This is my fight now, you're too weak. Sasuke didn't say anything. He just stood there before turning around and rushing to help Kakashi. Naruto let a smirk crawl upon his face as he looked at the now-up ice wielder. I've been dreaming of fighting you, to test our bloodlines. The boy held up several ice needles and pointed them at Naruto. I have honed my ice for years. You have honed yours for a week. Do not try me. Naruto grinned as he held out his hand as a sword made of ice suddenly appeared in his hands. Tell me, Yuki, can you do this? The masked ninja's figure suddenly began trembling in what was either rage, fear, or both. I am possible. How can you do that? That would take years upon years of practice, he shouted. Naruto's smirk only increased. My bloodline is to copy other bloodlines and increase their power and abilities. I can only do one at a time, but it is still pretty useful, he shouted as he rushed forward and sliced through the Yuki's needles, breaking them in half before he twisted midair and planted his foot right at the shinobi's temple, making him smash forward and hit the bridge wall with a smack. Then, a familiar chirping of lightning could be heard. Naruto, it's not your fault, Hiruzen told the boy lightly, but Naruto just shook his head, his hands in fists. Yes, it is. Zabuza-sama, the masked Nin shouted, fear evident in their voice. Naruto turned around and saw Zabuza held by multiple different dogs and Kakashi holding a Raikiri in his hand, a more advanced version of Chidori. Today is the day you die, Zabuza, he shouted as he rushed forward. Naruto felt himself get pushed out of the way before he saw the masked Nin grab the hilt of Zabuza's blade and throw it before quickly making an ice mirror and hopping into it. It's all my fault, Naruto said, tears falling down his face as he fell to his knees. Naruto, Sakura whispered, tears threatening to spill out of her eyes. This was the third time she's seen him cry. He wouldn't have wanted this. Naruto felt a hand grab his shoulder and he looked up and his eyes widened, considerably, as if he had seen a ghost. There stood Kakashi, his trademark smile plastered on his masked face. "It wasn't your fault," he said. A small mirror made of ice formed between Kakashi and Zabuza as the masked nin emerged from the mirror and caught Zabuza's sword midair and swung it horizontally in one clean motion. "Grgh," Sasuke spat out as he left the Hokage's office, slamming the door in the process. The hand on Naruto's hand faded away and Kakashi was no longer there. The sword slid cleanly across Kakashi's throat, tearing the mask part on his neck and killing him. "Good work, Haku," Zabuza stated before the dogs disappeared, their summoner no longer being alive. "Kakashi," Naruto whispered as he fell to his knees, his breathing quickening as he began spasming. Sasuke was frozen stiff, not able to move his body as shock took hold of his body, not letting go. Sakura, who had been guarding Tazuna, had dropped her kunai, tears crawling down her face unconsciously as she saw her sensei dead. "It's my fault, it's my fault, it's my fault, it's my fault, it's my fault," Naruto repeated over and over again. He felt a blade at his throat and he slowly looked up to see Zabuza towering over him, his sword in his possession once again with the boy named Haku standing behind him. "You're the second most dangerous person here, so I guess I'll have to kill you and then the bridge builder," he stated in a matter-of-fact tone. Naruto then spoke, whispering something so softly that neither Zabuza nor Haku could hear. "Speak up or I'll make you watch your friends die too." "NN Naruto," a voice spoke up. Zabuza looked back and saw Kakashi's one eye opened as he gazed into Naruto's blue eyes. "PP protect T to them," he whispered one last time before he closed his eyes, his chest no longer moving. Kakashi Hatake was dead. Remember, those who abandon their mission are scum, but those who abandon their friends are worse than scum. Those words from that fateful day echoed in Naruto's head over and over again. Protect them being Sasuke and Sakura. He had to protect them. Protect, 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 protect. "I have to protect them," he shouted as he stood up, forming a fist as sharp crystallized ice covered his entire arm as his eyes glowed a bright red. A three-comed Sharingan in place of his bright blue eyes before he shoved his fist right through Zabuza's chest, utterly destroying his heart. "I won't let you get away with this." He then locked eyes with Haku, who had taken a step back in shock. "With any of this," he screamed as red chakra burst from him, spreading across the whole bridge, suffocating anyone in proximity with the Kyuubi's toxic chakra. He threw Zabuza's corpse to the side as he straightened up, standing taller than before as he glared daggers at Haku, who had sunk into his knees, his purpose now gone. "Kill me. I have nothing else to live for." Naruto held out his hand and the Kyuubi's chakra melted off his hand as it crawled across the bridge, grabbing a hold of Zabuza's sword, and in a split second, the sword was in Naruto's right hand. "You'll pay for what you've done, with your blood," Naruto shouted as he brought the sword down, decapitating Haku in an instant, his head rolling across the bridge as his blood soon turned into a puddle. He then heard a small clapping as he whirled around and saw a small man in front of a bunch of thugs. "Thanks, now I don't have to waste all this time trying to have him killed. Thugs are so much cheaper. But now I'll have to kill you and your friends, then the bridge builder and his family." Naruto snarled as his vision went red. He killed all of them. "I need to go," Naruto said as he walked out of the office, leaving Hiruzen and Sakura alone. "Hokage-sama, what do we do?" she asked. Hiruzen sighed. "I don't know, Sakura. Just go home and I'll think about it." Sakura bowed before she left the office. Hiruzen turned in his chair and gazed out upon the village. "Minato, why did you have to up and die and leave this all to me?" Chapter 14. Unencountered Feelings. The funeral for Kakashi Hatake was dark and grim. No one spoke, no one smiled, no one touched the man's grave. There were no tears from Naruto Uzumaki, who stood there, completely and utterly numb to the whole ordeal, 3 words going through his head. "It's my fault." Over and over, that same thought went through his head over and over and over again. He blamed himself so much that he couldn't even bear to shed a tear anymore. His eyes were dry. So he watched as his teammates both sunk into their depression, both having been close to their sensei for the 2 months they have known him. The Hatake legacy was over, and there was nothing Naruto could do to restore it. He was utterly helpless. The funeral ended without a hitch, his coffin being lowered into the ground by his fellow Jounin, while the Hokage said a few heartfelt words. Though, Naruto didn't hear him. He didn't hear anything. All he heard was the heavy rain that poured on top of his matted blonde hair. What was there to hear? What was there to see? What was there to feel? Those questions often popped up inside his brain, often making his head hurt as he tried to go back to sleep, only to wake up once again to the sight of the masked ninja named Haku slit Kakashi's throat once again. His fault. Naruto sat in his apartment, bags under his pale blue eyes as he laid in bed, unable to fall to the clutches of sleep. Protect them, Kakashi had said. But how could he protect 2 genin if he couldn't even protect Konoha's most powerful jounin? The answer was short and clear: he couldn't. He looked like he'd been through the ringer, his hair a mess. He didn't know what time it was. He had boarded up his windows, not wanting to be woken from his nightmares by the ever-blinding light the sun provided. His fault. His depressing thoughts were suddenly interrupted when a rather loud banging was heard at his door. He glanced at his front door but only rolled in bed, his back to the said door. The banging came again, this time louder, but once again, it was ignored. Then, rather unexpectedly, the door was kicked off its hinges, slamming into Naruto's filthy kitchen, scattering and breaking bowls and plates, including a few plastic silverware. Naruto didn't care too much. He just turned one more time and saw who had broken into his home. And there, standing in all their glory, stood somebody he didn't even know. Breaking and entering is illegal, you know, Naruto drawled out as he noted her appearance with a lazy, yet sad look in his eyes. She had long purple hair that reached down to her waist with dark brown eyes and a small shade of red lipstick on her lips. She had porcelain white skin with a jounin vest over a plain long-sleeved blue shirt and a pair of black baggy pants and boots on with a katana on her back. However, as nice as she looked, her eyes glared ferociously at Naruto, who didn't even bother giving her the satisfaction of looking surprised. "What do you want?" he asked in an empty tone. "I'm your new sensei, jackass. Now get dressed and meet at training grounds 7 in 10 minutes. She spoke in a tone that spoke, "No bullshit." "No," Naruto said as he grabbed his covers and pulled them on top of himself. "I'm sick." The woman's glare only intensified. "And I'm sick of your attitude, you little shit. Get the hell up before I make you get up." Naruto didn't move, but his bed began turning into ice, making the room drop several degrees colder as the woman could suddenly see her breath in the air. "You're welcome to try, but I'm going to freeze whatever you have down there shut before you can do anything damaging," he whispered just loud enough for her to hear. She pinched the bridge of her nose in frustration before speaking. "Naruto Uzumaki, you've been in here for 3 weeks. Your teammates are worried about you, including the Hokage," she said, just a tone below yelling. "You are to come with me right now." "Get the fuck away from me," Naruto growled. "I'm not interested in seeing them, any of them. I don't give a damn what they think of me or how they miss me. Fuck them. And fuck everybody else." He then heard 2 pairs of footsteps run away in an instant, and he felt his heart drop. "Great. Now your teammates think you hate them," the woman said as he looked into Naruto's bright eyes. "But you're just angry at the world. How the hell would you know anything about me?" Naruto spat out, holding back nothing as venom lashed out at her with his words. "I don't know much about you, but I understand. I've lost people too, Naruto, everyone has. I lost both of my parents and my boyfriend in the Third War. You're not the only who's lost a lot." She spoke softly. "Kakashi-senpai would have never wanted this from you. He would want you to be happy and grow strong. Now wallow in your own self-pity. Now get up," she said as her eyes hardened. "I will not ask again." "Good. You can fix the door on your way out," Naruto replied before turning back around. He heard the sound of metal come out of a scabbard before he felt a slight prick on the back of his neck. "Get up now," she ordered. Naruto smirked. "I thought you weren't asking anymore?" he questioned sarcastically. "I'm not. I'm telling you. Get dressed, look presentable, and meet us at training grounds 7. And if I don't? Then I will personally request that you get dropped by the shinobi program entirely." Naruto let out a loud laugh. I'd like to see you try, but whatever, I'll comply for now. His eyes sparked red, causing the woman to narrow her eyes at the boy, but she then realized it was the Sharingan that sparkled in his eyes, not the Kyuubi's natural eyes. What? I thought that you could only use one bloodline at a time. Naruto felt the ice in his hands form and he frowned, narrowing his eyes in slight confusion. I guess that's sensei's. He stopped talking, not able to continue. The woman's eyes softened at the boy in front of her. Hey, it's okay. Come on. Some decent training can get your mind off of these things. Naruto barely nodded. She let a small smile grace her lips as she patted the boy on the shoulder. Good, now, get dressed and we'll meet at Training Ground 7, she whispered before she walked out of his house, leaving the broken door just lying there. Naruto arrived at the training grounds 30 minutes later, his hands in his pockets as he adorned a new outfit. It was a dark orange long-sleeved shirt that had a black vest over it that had multiple pockets and fingerless gloves that had the metal plate on the back of his hand. He also wore a pair of umbu-style pants that were patterned with dark gray and black with some steel-toed boots to finish it off. He looked at his two teammates, who had not changed since he last saw them, and nodded. Yo. He spoke only to get silence in return. He frowned but didn't question it. They did hear him tell him to fuck off just 30 minutes ago. The woman who had broken into his home stood in front of the wooden pole that Kakashi used to stand in front of when he gave speeches about teamwork and such. Hello, as you all know, I'm your new sensei that was appointed by Hokage-sama. My name is Yugao Yuzuki. I like training, spending time with my friends, and watching the moon. I dislike bullies and overcooked meat. My hobbies are polishing my kenjutsu and hanging out with my friends. My dream is to become the best in the world at kenjutsu. She then turned to Sakura. Now it's your turn, Sakura. Here we go again, I guess, she replied, wincing a bit at her poor attempt at a joke. My name is Sakura Haruno. I like studying, hanging out with my friends, ramen is my favorite food, and maybe somebody I know? I'm not sure, she said, narrowing her eyebrows at the ground. I dislike arrogant people and those who just hurt people without reason. My hobbies don't really exist, and my dream is to change somebody and make them realize they aren't all bad. Yugao nodded. Great. That's an admirable goal, Sakura. She then turned to Sasuke. Your turn now, Sasuke. My name is Sasuke Uchiha. I don't really have any likes or any dislikes. My hobbies aren't anyone's business, but if I were to name one, it would be training. My life goal is to kill Itachi Uchiha and revive my clan. Yugao nodded sympathetically. I hope you succeed what you hope to do. She then turned to Naruto. Last but not least, Naruto, go ahead. Naruto glanced at his two teammates before sighing. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. I enjoy training and I dislike weaklings. My hobbies include training, cooking, and experimenting with new types of ramen, and I guess I like drawing too. It was a new skill he had discovered when he got back home from Wave when Hiruzen had asked him to try and draw Zabuza, so he could confirm it with the picture he had. When he had, and with the proof of the sword, he gave Naruto the full bounty on Zabuza's head, which would last him quite a while and had given him much needed money to put a down payment on an apartment he was renting since he had moved out of the Uchiha district. My dream? Well, protect them. Kakashi's voice rang out in his head. Well, he said again, my dream is to protect my comrades, and to kill Itachi Uchiha for what he's done. Yugao's eyes widened at that, including Sasuke and Sakura's. Yugao had heard that the boy was hellbent on revenge, but it didn't appear so. Perhaps that mission to Wave Country really did change him? Sasuke and Sakura, however, were shocked at that first part of the information. Protect his comrades? Them? Why? Didn't he just say that they could fuck off? It was confusing, to say the least. Yugao clapped her hands together. Great. Well, as your new sensei, it's my job to train you to get ready for the Chunin exams next month. Don't underestimate them either. I heard that it'll be a strong crop this year, she said, trying to get them excited, but failing miserably. She hung her head comically. Come on guys, work with me here, she whispered as she laughed a little. Come on, let's start with a spar, huh? You three versus me. Naruto stood up, a sword made of ice coming into his hand as his Sharingan sprung to life. Fine with me, sensei. Sasuke and Sakura followed his lead, each one of them brandishing their own weapons. Yugao smirked, pleased that it had worked. She pulled out her own sword and settled into a stance. Good, now come. Chapter 15. Encounter. You have to be kidding me. Afraid not. But why? Gives you experience against a superior opponent, 2-on-1, it should be easy. You don't get it, he's so strong. Quit complaining, Sakura, we can beat him, Sasuke stated as he gazed at Naruto, his two Tomoed Sharingan gleaming. Yugao-sensei and Kakashi-sensei trained us well. They trained Naruto too, you know, she said dryly, glancing at Naruto who sat crisscrossed on the grass in front of them. Doesn't matter. I've been diving into the Uchiha scrolls. We can beat him. Are you sure, Sasuke? Naruto spoke, laughing a little, mocking both of his opponents. You continue to believe that we are on equal grounds, Sasuke growled at the blonde before charging him, ignoring the shouts of protest from both Yugao and Sakura. Naruto let out a soft sigh as he watched Sasuke approach him rapidly. A tiny spark ignited across his body before he disappeared from sight. What? Sasuke said in awe and shock as he spun around, trying to find Naruto. I call my technique Godspeed, Naruto spoke before punching Sasuke in the gut. It's from a manga I like. He disappeared again and reappeared a couple of feet from a coughing Sasuke, lightning traveling across his entire body, his hair standing tall and more spiky than usual. This technique is quite deadly. It grants me speed, and a rather cutting edge, literally, Naruto said, his face calm and collected. You mastered it in a month? Sakura asked, completely bewildered. Naruto nodded. She then turned to Yugao, who was entranced by the said technique. I give up. Sasuke can fight this one. Yugao absently nodded, but instead of focusing on the battle, she pulled out her sword and slowly approached Naruto. Naruto, I honestly don't know your true power. So far, I have a reason to believe that you are at least special jounin, but you've been holding back in our spars, haven't you? Naruto froze but reluctantly nodded. Okay, Sasuke, Sakura, get back. Naruto, I'm a former Umbu captain, so do not hold back whatsoever. Use everything you got to defeat me. Naruto's face twisted as he had a small internal conflict. Should he go all out and possibly hurt his sensei and friends? Or B. Hold back and disappoint them? Are you sure? Naruto asked quietly, almost timidly, surprising Yugao quite a lot, but she hid the surprise easily and nodded. Hold nothing back, or else I'll have you running laps around the village for a week straight. Naruto weakly took off his jacket, revealing a blue long-sleeved shirt. Fine, but please, don't look at me differently. Yugao then felt all her danger senses act up, screaming at her. Please. What do you dash? She began, but Naruto made a single hand sign and a small symbol appeared on his right arm, before fading away and a large amount of chakra kicked up, making the loose dirt and dust spread from around him, almost knocking Yugao back and successfully knocking Sakura and Sasuke back a couple of feet as the grass tried its best to stay put. Naruto's eyes shifted from light blue to a crimson red as a three-tomoed Sharingan. Lighting sparked across his entire figure violently, as he gazed at Yugao before his whole demeanor changed. A small, twisted grin appeared on his face as his limbs got all rigid, the lightning coursing throughout his entire body, his Sharingan eyes widening, revealing that his eyes were bloodshot. Let's begin, NSEI, he said before jumping and disappearing in a blue flash in an instant, reappearing behind her as he backhanded her across the training grounds, the woman flailing helplessly. Yugao finally got her grips as she stood still, her eyes rapidly scanning the whole training grounds. Are you looking for me? A small whisper came from behind her. She whirled around, ready to defend herself, only to see nothing but air and trees. I'm over here. This time it was above. She looked up and only saw Naruto's Sharingan eyes before she felt a wave of dizziness took over her. Yugao, help me. She heard a small voice call out to her. She turned her head and saw her old boyfriend, multiple cuts and kunai lacing his body, blood trailing down his cheeks. Why did you let me die? He shouted. Hey, 8! She shouted in a panicked tone before rushing towards the man, only for him to fade from existence. You're a pathetic excuse of a daughter. You aren't a damn samurai. Put the sword away. She heard her parents say in unison and she began breaking down, crying as she fell to her knees. You see, Naruto said, holding his arms out to the side as he gestured to himself. This is me at full power. I'm Jounin level easy, and I didn't even have to use any of my ninjutsus at dash. He was cut off as a loud smack, courtesy of Yugao, who had tears falling down her face freely. You went too far, Naruto, she screamed at him. Naruto's eyes widened as the seal on his arm reappeared and disappeared back into his skin, his Sharingan disappearing and being replaced by his normal blue eyes. He whispered but was smacked again. No, don't speak to me again, you will go to the Chunin exams, and if you do not get promoted then you will be transferred. Am I understood? She screamed. Water. Cold. Kimchi. Warmth. Clothes. Winter. Death. Naruto's eyes steeled as he turned around and began walking away, ignoring Yugao's curses and obscenities. Naruto, Sakura whispered sadly as he passed her. Sasuke, however, had a look of pure rage on his face. He didn't see what made Yugao-sensei so angry, but it must have been bad, and that was bad for the whole team. You son of a bitch! He shouted as he charged Naruto, only to be quickly grasped by the jaw. Naruto's hand over Sasuke's mouth as Sasuke tried to pry away, but to no avail. Sasuke, if you try to attack me again. He looked up at Sasuke, his blue eyes piercing Sasuke's coal black. I'll make your whole clan massacre look like a fucking joke. He then let Sasuke go and roundhouse kicked him across the training grounds. Naruto, Yugao shouted, angry he had assaulted his teammate. Get back here or be charged with insubordination. Fuck you, he said, not even bother to look at her as he put his cloak back on. How about you go suck your boyfriend's ghost dick? Yugao looked at him with a face of pure fury as she drew her sword and charged him. Naruto didn't move as he let the sword impale him. He let a tiny cough as blood trailed down his chin. Are you satisfied? Do you wish to kill me? If so, you'd best do it now. You won't ever get this chance again. Yugao's eyes widened at the realization at what she's done. Naruto! Sakura screamed in horror at the sight of her impaled teammate. Yugao quickly took the sword out, dropping the bloody blade to the ground, horrified at her actions. I'm so sore dash. Just shut up and leave me the hell alone. I'll meet Sasuke and Sakura at the place where the exam will take place. And I will make Chunin, and if I don't, then I'll request to be promoted to special Jounin for my skills instead of a measly Chunin position. He then began walking away. Naruto walked throughout the streets, repeating what Kakashi had wished. Protect. 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 He would no longer kill nor cripple the civilians, but the ninja were a whole other topic. They knew better, and he would tell them what he thought when he thought it'd be appropriate. He turned to the corner only to bump into a little kid who was sniffling and had a black eye and a bloody nose. Behind him were two of his friends, Naruto guessed. He then recognized the kid as the Hokage's grandson. What the hell fucked you up that bad? Naruto asked bluntly, not really caring but wanting to distract himself. The boy, who he had learned was named Konohamaru, simply pointed a boy and a girl, the boy being dressed in a black suit that resembled a cat and a girl who looked like she was too young to be showing all that skin. He patted Konohamaru on the head. Go tell your grandfather that Naruto Uzumaki is gonna go deal with a few imbeciles. Konohamaru looked at Naruto as if he were his hero, which made Naruto embarrassed to an extent, but he ignored it. You got it, boss, Konohamaru shouted, giving Naruto his new nickname. Come on, Moegi, Udon. The trio ran off as Naruto approached the two figures, who wore Suna headbands. Okay, you obviously don't know where the fuck you are, or you're just so arrogant to care. You just assaulted the Hokage's grandson. Congrats on the death warrant. The boy's eyes widened, as well as the girls. Temari, the boy whispered before he burst out laughing. This kid thinks he can intimidate us? Temari let a small smirk cross her face as she put out her lip, resting her hand on it. Kankuro, maybe you should teach this one a lesson too? Naruto let a soft sigh. You obviously don't know who the fuck I am. If you did, you wouldn't be talking to me like I'm common street trash. Okay, fine, I'll educate you. A single spark of lighting was all the two could before the blonde held a boy around his age with red hair by the neck. This is your other teammate, no? Tell me, who the hell do you think you are to come into this village and act like it's yours? Gaara, Temari shouted, fear entering her system as Gaara's sand tried over and over again to attack Naruto. But as soon as it touched Naruto, it just fell back to the ground. Mother? Gaara asked weakly, fear in his voice. He, He actually grabbed Gaara, what the hell? Kankuro said, stuttering as he watched as the blonde messed with his little brother with little difficulty. Naruto slammed the redhead into the wall, but his eyes widened as he felt a strange chakra emitting from the boy. "You're a Jinchuriki, aren't you?" he whispered. He then looked at Kankuro and Temari, who were too scared to actually move. He then turned back to Gaara, who had fear in his eyes as well. "I was going to kill you and your friends here, but there's only 9 of us, so I guess I'll spare you." Temari's eyes widened at his words. "Us?" Naruto grinned as he turned his head to her, his eyes flashing a dark red with a single black slit right down the middle of it as a red chakra erupted from his chakra pores. "Yes, us. You see, I'm the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. So how about you all go fuck off before I change my mind and steal whatever tailed beast he has inside of him? Okay?" Temari and Kankuro were clearly terrified to their core and quickly grabbed Gaara before disappearing. Naruto grinned. "Good. A supposed challenge." Chapter 16, Declaration. And for the rest of you who have decided to stay, you pass. Ibiki Marino shouted as he looked at the class in front of him. A few mutters passed throughout the class, but Naruto sported a smirk on his face. But before he could relish in his own success, a woman by the name Anko smashed into the building and quickly guided everyone out of the building and to a forest which she called the Forest of Death. This was when Naruto decided to speak. "Oh wow, a forest, in the village hidden in the leaves, how scary," he drawled out in a bored tone, only for a kunai to whiz past him as he easily leaned his head to the side. He then felt a presence behind him. "Cocky kids like you die first," Anko whispered in his ear, another kunai at his cheek. To Naruto's credit, he didn't look alarmed at all, but Sakura and Sasuke sure as hell did. "Please quit trying to sexually harass Proctor-san. It's quite new and I'd rather not get taught by someone with a lot of experience." Anko's eyes widened at the insult, but she just started laughing. "That was harsh, brat." She got off of Naruto and began explaining the rules such as the Earth Scroll and the Heaven Scroll, and how you needed one of each to pass and all of your teammates. This was going to be a walk in the park. Or so Naruto thought. Unbeknown to him, there were a total of 3 different teams looking at him, including 1 ninja. 2 teams were looking at him with interest and the other team was looking at him cautiously. The one person was looking at him with a certain hunger in their eyes, but they went to their respective gate without being noticed. Team 7 watched as their gate opened before they rushed forward, trying to get as close as possible to some cover from any teams that might have noticed them. They stopped at a rather large tree trunk where Naruto turned to Sakura. "Sakura, I need the scroll." She rose her eyebrow but threw him the scroll anyway. "May I ask why?" He nodded. "Then why?" she asked, feeling kinda dumb. "I'm the strongest out of the 3 of us, that much is obvious." She noticed Sasuke tense at his words. "So if we are to be attacked, I'm the least likely to go down. But don't worry," he said, a faraway look in his eyes. "I'll protect you both, you won't get hurt. Not as long as I'm alive." "We don't need your protection, Naruto," Sasuke said bitterly. "We're capable of defending ourselves quite fine." Naruto didn't respond, not needing to. Everyone knew that Sasuke was lying. Sure, Sasuke was at least at high Chunin level and Sakura at low Chunin level, but they would lose to Yugao easily. And Naruto beat Yugao easily. He didn't even use Zabuza's sword, nor did he use any ninjutsu besides Godspeed. It was terrifying. Naruto pocketed the scroll and the 3 began moving, searching for other teams. They stopped by a small river where they got something to drink as Naruto built a small fire with the help of Sasuke, who provided a small fire jutsu to get it going. The 3 genin sat in relative silence before Naruto closed his eyes. "We have some company," the fire alerted them. Sakura looked panicked and was about to put it out, but Sasuke stopped her. "It's part of the plan, we're trying to lure them here," Sasuke said, trying to ease her worries at least a little. "Are you guys insane?" Naruto popped an eye open and Sasuke only shrugged. "Never mind, you guys are insane. Why would you draw attention?" Naruto stood up, stretching his arms until a satisfying crack could be heard from his joints. He pulled out a sealing scroll and bit his finger and swiped it across the paper. "It's funny," he began. "They're mist ninja, so this should make them scared or quite the opposite." In a burst of smoke as it revealed Zabuza's, now Naruto's, large sword. "Come out. It's getting dark and I don't like it when people can't see me." 3 shinobi from mist dropped out from the trees and one landed in front of Naruto, another behind Sasuke, and one behind Sakura. Those shinobi behind Naruto's teammates had kunais to their throats, ready to cut them at a moment's notice. Hand over your scroll, and the sword. The latter doesn't belong to you, it belongs to Mist. Naruto didn't move, the sword still propped upon his shoulder. After a few seconds, the Mist shinobi got annoyed. Hey, are you deaf? I said to hand over the scroll and the sword or else your teammates are gonna die, he shouted. I was going to let you all live. I'm trying to reduce my killing, you know? But the moment you threatened my teammates was the moment that you signed your own death certificate. In a simple, yet quick spin, the two Mist shinobi holding Sakura and Sasuke hostage fell to the ground, dead, blood spilling from their necks as a deep cut was found on their jugular. The remaining Mist ninja saw his now deceased teammates as he backed away from Naruto, whose eyes had long since turned red with anger, a straight black line running straight down the middle of his eye. No, please, I'm sorry. I wouldn't have dashed, the Mist ninja began but was cut off as the sword impaled him right through the chest and pinning him to the tree. He began coughing as blood suddenly came out of his mouth. B bastard. The shinobi got out before he went limp. Naruto pulled out the sword and easily sealed it back into the scroll. He glanced at his teammates before letting out a soft sigh. Check the bodies. If they have a heaven scroll, we can be done quickly and go to the tower. He spoke. Sasuke and Sakura did as they were told. But with a sigh, Sasuke pulled out an earth scroll. Damn it, Sasuke muttered. We can't ever get a break, huh? Sakura also sighed. Seems not, but we can find a heaven scroll. We still have 4.5 days. 3 days later. I'm about to quit, Naruto said, earning grunts of agreement from his teammates. We haven't seen a single damn team for so long. If nothing happens, I'm literally going to wipe this forest out. Sakura's eyes widened a little bit. You can't actually do that. Right? She asked, doubting her own question. Naruto glanced at her, a smirk on his face. I can, if I amplified Godspeed enough, I'd be able to destroy this whole forest in about an hour. Sasuke rose an eyebrow. Wouldn't you run out of chakra? Naruto shook his head. The damn fox in my gut is always expanding my chakra coils to their limit each day, so whenever I wake up, my chakra coils are always just a bit bigger, and that adds on to the fact that I already had the largest chakra coils in the village by the time I was 6, so just imagine how much I have now. If you say chakra coils one more time, Sasuke let out a low warning, earning a small chuckle from Naruto, who kept quiet. A little bit later, Naruto stopped walking, causing the others to stop as well. Did you sense someone? Sasuke asked, taking out a kunai, ready to fight. Naruto suddenly whirled around. Get do dash, he began shouting before he was suddenly blown away by a wind jutsu, carrying him far away from his teammates before he saw what looked like a pair of yellow eyes before he landed on the ground. What the dash? And then Naruto was swallowed by a very large snake. Sasuke and Sakura, who had miraculously not been blown away, stood in fright as a rather tall man with green eyes with black slits going straight down the middle of them. He had on a tan tunic on with a purple rope acting as a belt of some sort that seemed to keep the tunic on with the basic shinobi sandals that most shinobi wore. Kukuku, it seems your protection has been blown away. Quite literally, he said, sounding like a snake. But, in all honesty, I'm not after either one of you. I've been tailing you all for quite some time and I saw the boy's reaction when his teammates were in danger, and I relish to experience that firsthand. So, I'll beat you both senseless until he arrives. Sasuke got in front of Sakura, who also held a kunai, but was filled with fear. You aren't going to beat either of us senseless, Sasuke shouted before he threw his kunai at the snake-like man, who dodged it easily but was suddenly engulfed in a ball of fire. Sakura, run, Sasuke shouted. Somehow, he knew that the man wasn't dead, not yet at least. Sakura steeled herself as she shook her head. No, those who abandon their comrades are worse than scum. Sasuke's eyes shifted into its Sharingan state as a smirk crossed his face. Fine, then let's kill this bastard. His right hand was suddenly enveloped with lightning, the same as Sakura as they both charged the man, who appeared unscathed from the fireball. Chidori, they shouted in unison, but they suddenly felt a hand grab their hair and throw them into a tree, the Chidori in their hands now gone. Oh, is the Kakashi Hataki's move? It's a shame. He couldn't hit me with it either. He suddenly appeared in front of Sasuke and Sakura and began beating on them both at the same time, turning them into a bloody pulp. And in what seemed like hours, but was just a couple minutes, the man stopped. I don't necessarily get my kicks off of beating children, but if it means fulfilling my goals, then I'll do it anytime. He grabbed Sasuke and threw him on the ground, leaving a bloody Sakura stuck in the tree, her form causing a dent in it where she laid, unconscious. Let's get started then, shall we? The man said before he began beating on Sasuke more and more, each passing minute his strength only increasing with his punches as annoyance began getting a hold of him. Where the hell is he? He asked rhetorically, knowing Sasuke was too beaten to actually speak. He let out a long sigh. Looks like I'ma have to kill you both, show him your corpses and then fight him. Whatever, if it gets the trick done then I have no qualms. He took out a kunai and threw it at Sakura, but it was suddenly blocked by a very bloody and slimy Naruto. How dare why you? He asked, barely being able to keep his rage in check. The man let go of Sasuke as the Uchiha flopped to the ground, finally unconscious. Hello Naruto-kun. My name is Orochimaru. Now shall we fight? Naruto gently picked Sakura's almost dead-like form and gently laid her on the grass. He then turned to Orochimaru, his whole body shaking, his Sharingan activated. But instead of the middle pupil, it had turned into a long slit, making his Sharingan look wild and untamed. You bastard, how dare you? How dare you? His voice was completely consumed with anger and rage. His fingernails then turned into claws as his canines suddenly sharpened to the point where they could have pierced steel with ease. You heartless monster, you'll pay for this? Ice began forming around Naruto as the moisture in the air suddenly solidified and turned to ice as it formed into tiny needles that floated effortlessly around Naruto. You'll pay for this. Electricity bubbled around Naruto with an intensity that even made Orochimaru take a step back. You'll pay for this. A light purple chakra formed around Naruto, a mix of the Kyuubi's chakra and his own. Naruto locked eyes with Orochimaru's pleased eyes. I will make you suffer. He then disappeared from view, but Orochimaru didn't even look the least bit scared. He then reappeared above Orochimaru, a bright ball of lightning in his hand as he swiped at Orochimaru. But the man just dodged it just in the nick of time. But the trees that were in Naruto's path were suddenly turned into nothing but ashes as Naruto ran around at superhuman speeds, his eyes never leaving Orochimaru's predatory look. Again and again he would attack, but Orochimaru would always evade. But even Orochimaru would take a few scratches, a thin trail of blood traveling down his cheek as his smirk only grew. Naruto then appeared in front of Orochimaru once again, but this time, the seal on his arm had appeared as he began muttering. I have to protect them all, sensei. No, sensei said, Shursui? Eno? Kakashi? Dog. His dog? Dogs. He muttered nonsense as he developed a grin on his face, his Kyuubi enhanced Sharingan widening as he began shaking uncontrollably. I have T2, the ice, T the Kimichi, Tihi orphanage. I have to KK kill, C copy. I have to copy everything. Do it, J just, ice, water, winter, everything. It's so T-twisted, Shursui. Are you there? And no. Orochimaru began laughing. A seal that appears whenever he wants to go all out, but makes him insane. His grin turned into a crazed one as well. Good. I have to PR protect them, all of them, everyone. He rushed forward towards Orochimaru, but he suddenly found a foot in his face as he was kicked across the ashes of the trees he had basically electrocuted down. Welp, I've seen enough and I am quite pleased. As a reward, Orochimaru's neck suddenly sprouted as his fangs struck Naruto's skin, a mark appearing on Naruto's neck. You'll come to me willingly, one day at least. I'll heal your friends just enough to where you don't get killed when you are knocked out. Goodbye. And like that, Naruto's vision blurred out before it went completely black. Chapter 17. Agreement. Shursui-sensei? Naruto asked curiously as he looked at a paper, not being able to figure out the words. What does this say? Shursui, who was reading a book that would make Jiraiya of the Sannin and Kakashi Hatake proud, glanced over Naruto's shoulder. It means death. Do you know what that means, Naruto? Naruto nodded. When someone stops breathing and goes away. Shursui nodded as he patted Naruto's blonde hair, causing the boy's eye to twitch in annoyance. Yep, now remember, a lot of people are good and a lot of people are bad. But death should only be a resort we ninja use if it's required. Whether it's protecting ourselves, our friends, or just a mission given by the Hokage. You should never kill for fun. That's when you lose your humanity, he said seriously, hoping to imprint this on the young boy's mind for the rest of his life. Shursui-sensei. Naruto began as his once excited features turned grim and sad. Do I have humanity? I mean, the villagers don't think so. What if they're right? Shursui frowned as he set down his book and looked straight into Naruto's eyes. You are a human, Naruto. Don't ever forget that you are of flesh and blood, just like me and everyone else. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Okay? Naruto wiped away the upcoming tears and nodded. Okay, sensei. Kaka-sensei. Naruto began as he watched the gray-haired man read the same pervy books Shursui once read. Why are you always late? It's getting boring waiting for you when I could be training. Kakashi only gave him a closed-eye smile. Well, I was visiting a friend of mine, he said. Naruto shrugged and began muttering. Just because you have a love life doesn't mean that you can just ditch your students, he said, shaking his head. The next day, Naruto decided to follow Kakashi from his house at the designated time to meet up, so he could call the man out in front of his girlfriend and hopefully he'd get an earful. He kept the roofs of the village, watching the man from above as he weaved throughout the streets. Kakashi then walked onto an empty field and looked longingly with his one eye at a stone that had many names on it. I'm sorry, Obito, Rin, Sensei, he whispered in self-loathing, something that surprised Naruto. Kakashi was usually always happy or bored, so to see the side of him that was so down and sad. It was wrong. Kakashi Hatake wore a mask physically and mentally as to not disturb other people with his problems. Naruto shook his head. Those who wallowed in their own self-guilt were weak and would sooner or later be trampled upon. The mission is simple, a redhead stated to a small group of 5 other sound ninja. We swoop in and kill the brat. If his teammates interfere, then we kill them too. Got it? The 5 shinobi included Dosu, Kin, Zaku, Jirobo, Sakan, and Tayuya, who was the group leader. Their mission was to kill Naruto Uzumaki. Tayuya didn't know why, but she didn't necessarily care either. 6 of us seems kinda overkill, Sakan stated as he licked his lips at the thought of spilling blood. Tayuya shook her head. Orochimaru said that this guy could rival Kakashi Hatake. If he wakes up, it'll take all of us to take him down, and even then it won't be easy. Zaku, one of the actual genin, scoffed. He's just a brat. He can't kill all of us. Jirobo shook his head at the arrogance of the young one. But they emerged from the bushes where a beaten-up Sakura was taking care of a terribly beaten-up Sasuke and Naruto. Who are you? Sakura asked as she held up a kunai, narrowing her green eyes at the group before her. Tayuya gave a mock bow. Just common ninja, of course, she replied sarcastically. And we're here to kill Blondie over there. Just stay out of our way and we won't kill you. Sakura shook her head, denying them easy access. I may look weak, but I've gotten stronger since I've become a genin, she shouted, raising her kunai as she got into a stance, signaling that the fight had begun. Tayuya let out a small sigh. Fine, we'll do it your way. Jirobo, Zaku, Kin, kill her. The 3 sound ninja charged forward, eager grins on their faces before a flash of green made them all fall onto their asses, dumbfounded as they nursed their jaws. I am the handsome Rock Lee, and I will protect the beautiful Sakura with everything I have. Sakan rolled his eyes. More leaf trash? Fine, I'll take care of him, he said before Dosu stopped him, the bandaged boy peering at Rock Lee curiously. No, I think he surpasses all of us in brute strength and taijutsu, even Jirobo, no offense. But... He held up his arm, revealing an all-metal thing before a blast came from it, hitting Rock Lee straight on, his vision going blurry as his ears had a ringing in them. Tayuya smirked. Good work, Dosu. Now hurry up and kill the freak so we can kill the pink. She patted herself on the back for her little rhyme, but no one else seemed to appreciate it nor notice. Jirobo punched Lee straight in the face, sending him back into a tree where he crashed, making the tree vibrate as a few leaves fell down. Zaku and Kin charged Sakura as they engaged in a completely one-sided fight. Zaku and Kin's teamwork were just too good for Sakura to handle as Kin suddenly caught her by the hair and had a kunai at her throat. This could have been a lot easier, but you stupid leaf neen always gotta make things difficult, Kin muttered under her breath as a grin came across her face. Your hair is silky. I'm kinda jealous. To be honest, I wish my hair was this good. Sakura gritted her teeth in pain before she took out a kunai and cut her long hair, shortening it to just above her shoulders. She backed away from Kin before stabbing the girl in her calf, causing her to fall to her knees in agony before she whirled around and killed Kin with a quick swipe to her throat, blood spilling out like a waterfall. "Kin!" Zaku shouted in anger before he began punching Sakura in the face ruthlessly, giving her plenty of hits that would turn to bruises. He then dropped her to the ground as he prepared to give her a killing blow. "Zaku, just finish her already," Tayuya said, slightly annoyed. She didn't particularly care for Kin, so it didn't matter that she died. But she was annoyed that Orochimaru would most likely be displeased about this development. Suddenly, a dark, malicious chakra filled with rage and hatred exploded from the tree trunk Sasuke and Naruto resided in, getting everyone's attention. Naruto emerged from the tree, his Sharingan glowing as black marks were spread across his body. "No fucking way," Tayuya cursed before she looked at the group. "Attack him now while we have the chance." Purple chakra exploded from his body, halting everyone in their tracks as they looked at the blonde with a mix of curiosity and fear. "Sakura," Naruto began. "Who did this to you?" This time Zaku spoke up. "I did, you tattooed weirdo. What are you gonna do about dash?" Zaku began smugly but was cut off as a dozen ice needles found themselves deep into his throats, killing him instantly. "Who's next?" Jirobo charged the blonde as well as Sakan, but in a blur, with a sword made of ice in Naruto's right hand, the two fell to the ground, their heads off and rolling onto the ground, leaving only Dosu and Tayuya left. "Son of a bitch," Tayuya muttered before she disappeared, leaving Dosu all by himself. "This power, it feels incredible. I feel like I can take on anyone now, even that snake bastard. I can do anything." His Sharingan eyes turned to Dosu, who was quite literally shaking in his boots. "Let's see what I can do to you, okay?" His neck twisted as he suddenly appeared behind Dosu, grabbing the teen's arms and pulling them from behind him as he placed a foot on Dosu's back before he began pulling. "You seem awfully attached to those arms of yours," Naruto said as a single red slit formed in his Sharingan eyes, the black markings on his skin glowing even more. "It'd be a shame if you were to—" He pulled back with all of his strength as the two arms ripped out of their sockets and off of Dosu's body. "Lose them!" Dosu screamed in agony as the now armless boy laid there, screaming in pain as he withered away. Naruto watched as the teen slowly died from blood loss as he stopped moving. The markings on Naruto receded right back onto a small mark that looked like 3 Sharingan commas. He then looked at Sakura and gave her a weak smile. "Let's go to the center already, okay?" Chapter 18 Talk. Preliminaries. They sucked. It didn't help that Team 7 barely made it in time either, tired and battered, and Sakura was barely able to stand while Sasuke had a concussion. But Naruto had a face of guilt and regret, a sadness that emitted off the boy like heat from a lamp. But Sakura and Sasuke didn't know why. Flashback. The last thing Naruto saw was Orochimaru's fangs inserting his neck before screaming in pain and fainting. He opened his eyes and found himself in a blizzard, ice clinging to his body like flies to a light, and every time he would break it off, more would form. "Naruto," a voice spoke from behind the blonde, making his eyes widen as he whirled around, only to see Shursui with blood coming out of his mouth, a sword poking out of his chest as Itachi stood behind him. "Why?" "Shursui-sensei," Naruto shouted, but was literally frozen to the spot he stood, unable to move. "I died alone, you let me die alone," he whispered before Itachi quickly took the sword out of Shursue's chest before decapitating the teen in one motion, causing Naruto to scream in agony at the sight of his master dying. "You're a monster," a familiar voice stated, causing Naruto to turn around again as he saw Kakashi pinned to a cross, 3 different swords pinning him to the wood. "I hate you. You're the reason I died. You lacked the power to save me." Itachi appeared on top of the cross Kakashi hung from and slit the masked man's throat, causing blood to spill as blood filled the entire area, melting the ice as Naruto collapsed in the red liquid, tears flowing freely from his bright blue eyes. "And they won't be the last," a small, voiceless whisper echoed in Naruto's head as his vision showed Itachi standing over Team 8 and Team 9, their bodies leaking blood as they were deathly still, causing Naruto's breathing to quicken as he began hyperventilating. Then, it showed Konoha burning, men, women, children all dying as multiple Itachis killed them all. Naruto looked away, unable to see his village burning. After the screaming stopped, Naruto opened his eyes and saw his hands and body were covered in blood. "They will die because of you." He looked up and saw Sakura's usual bright emerald eyes become a dull green as he saw her head unattached from her body. He let out a scream of pure fear as he crawled backward, trying to escape the sight of Sakura's dead eyes staring at him. He then bumped into something and looked up. "Because you are too weak," Itachi shouted as held Sasuke by the throat, squeezing until an audible crack could be heard as Naruto's eyes widened as Sasuke's body collapsed to the ground, dead.